I met a Gypsy.
All right, man. Well, let's just roll into it. The champ is here. How's that feel?
That's got a nice little ring to it, to be honest with you. Man, that feels good. It's been a hell of a journey, to be honest with you. So I don't know if it's really. I mean, it hit me a little bit on Sunday, just chilling with the fam, but it's that sounds nice. Sounds nice.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's these moments in your life that happen, and I think this is one of the reasons I personally love not only this sport, motorsport, but sport in general, because you can have these like moments in your life while you're still on the journey and you're still kind of doing the process of trying to be a champion. But the first moment that you become a champion, the first time you get a ride, the first time you get a podium, the first time you get a win, like you've got these kind of milestone moments along the way that kind of see a life's work kind of come to fruition. And I feel like winning a championship is a really big version of that. Obviously, you're on to the outdoor championship, and then you're going to try and back it up. Now, it's not like the ball stops rolling, but on Sunday night, it's like there is this bookend of like, oh, wow, I've literally dedicated my life to becoming a champion, and now I am a champion.
Yeah, it was, honestly, it was mainly talking to my buddy Justin Bogle, because he kind of been there, done that as far as winning a title and stuff, and he was the one that was like, dude, like, embrace what you're doing. Like, take a second and just kind of like step back and be like, holy shit, like we did it, like this is a big, big thing. And, he was a little younger whenever he got his title, his East Coast title. And, he was just like, had the mindset of like, oh, there'll be more, like, let's keep moving forward. Let's do our thing. And he was like, dude, it was so important. He was like, I wish I would have had someone to just like tell me, hey, dude, just like take a second, like soak it all in. Yeah, of course you got to keep the ball rolling, and you immediately moved outdoors and all this shit. But he was like, just take a second and realize like what you've done, like all those hours, all that time. And especially coming from him, it was pretty important just because he's kind of been there and seen it all with me. Like he was in the dumps with me and, going to Walmart and cashing the change to make it another week and, just the whole nine. So like he gets it and he see it firsthand. So that was pretty cool to hear from him. And so on Sunday, my parents stayed in Salt Lake an extra day, and we honestly just hung out all day, talked, reminisced. Just we're like, dude, could you believe this? 6 years ago, it seemed very, very out of reach, like very out of reach. So the fact that we're here, like you said, you kind of do these little milestones, you get a podium, then you get the win, and you feel like you're getting a little closer. But big picture, when you take a look back, you're just like, damn, this is crazy. Such a cool feeling and a lifelong accomplishment for sure.
Oh, man, and so few people get to taste that champagne the way that you did. On the podium, you're a champ. You've just done the whole season. You can drink that champagne for a race win, and it's dope. You can drink that champagne for a podium, and it's dope. But, man, to drink that as a champ, like, it's just so much work, like a life's work, and the pain that's gone into it. You think about every injury, and it's like, it sounds dramatic, but it's like you should lay it out like this. Bogle is right. You should acknowledge how much fucked up shit you would have had to go through to to make this happen. And dude, it's so hard to pull off what you pulled off.
Yeah, I mean, I just obviously being there, done that, and even 2017 was a good year for me, but yeah, at the same time, it was my first year on Star, and I'm trying to just kind of break into it a little bit. Got on the podium, and was still searching for the win and doing all this stuff, and even then it seems out of reach, until you really get into a position like 2019 where I had the red plate for 5 rounds and was doing well, then missed all of 2020. Made all that progress, and then all of 2020 I'm sitting on the couch pretty much. So that was tough in itself, but it mainly, the first thing I could think of when, I'd realized I won, like I was actually kind of pissed that I got second in the race. And then I was just like, well, who gives a shit? I just won the title. Like no one cares. But the first thing I thought about was honestly 2015. I rode for Crossland Honda, privateer team, first year into Supercross, breakout, trying to do whatever I could do. And I was planning on re-signing for that team for 16. And the team fell apart at the last minute. They came and got my bikes. And dude, I'm riding Robbie Raynor's 450 at his place in Oklahoma just to ride, because I was like, dude, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I got a call from Christina Denny just because Robbie had been bugging the shit out of her about it. And I got that ride with Cycle Trader at the end of November, and I didn't get a bike till, maybe a week before December, and that was literally it right there. Like, when I was riding Robbie's bike, I just remember being like, I never want to be in this spot again, and I know one of these days I'm going to do this for a reason. I'm going to be a champion. And that was kind of the time that it clicked for me. But obviously you have your ups and downs since then, injuries, shit that's happened, just everything. It's obviously ups and downs. I mean, we're dirt bike racers. We all go through it, but it was, that was a pretty damn cool feeling Saturday to be able to hold that number one plate and just be like, wow, like this has been a hell of a journey. Like, I'm a little older than, most first time champs. So, I think that was actually better for me to be able to embrace it like that and just be like, man, I've been through it, like I can appreciate it. I'm older now, just being through all that stuff. And, that kind of puts some perspective on it for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm, how old are you, by the way?
I just turned 27.
Okay, cool. So I'm 32, and I feel like I reckon 28, 29 was when I sort of just started figuring shit out and learned like how to appreciate things and the kind of perspective that you've got now. And I definitely think that winning a championship a little bit older with everything that you've been through, like, you would have a lot more perspective on what it means, because I feel like when you're younger you just kind of get caught in the momentum of things, like you look at young dudes that kind of win these championships and it's like win. There's so much momentum that gets gathered in that I've been around those guys, like they're not really appreciating it in the same way, and that's not through a fault of their own, but there just is something that comes with age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. And that's why it was cool to have somebody like Bogle there to just be like, dude, like, I didn't really appreciate it the way I needed to just be like, damn, like, I accomplished this, like, this was me, I did this, and I've been through it. And, that's why it was cool, for him to just be like, to take a second, like, even if you're just by yourself for a second, just reminisce for just a minute and just kind of soak it all in. And luckily for me, I had my family there to do that with, so that was even extra special. So we definitely did that, got to embrace it and do everything. But, as racers, we were always searching for that next thing. I mean, the next challenge in life, and that immediately comes in 3 weeks when we start outdoors. So you don't have much time to just sit back and do whatever, but that's definitely the next thing we're going to try to push to try to do is go get an outdoor title.
There's do you know Jack Harlow? You like Jack Harlow at all?
Yeah, he's tight.
Have you heard the song Keep It Light?
Yeah.
There's that cool moment. Yeah, dude, I always listen to that song, like, a lot of times on the way into the studio. I've got, like, my house is only a mile from where the studio is. So it's like a 1-song drive to get to work. And a lot of times before I do a podcast, I'll put on just that one song, at the end of it, where his mum's talking, and then his mum's like, I just want you to take a moment to appreciate what you've done and, the people that you bring together and blah, blah, blah. That's such like a good little mini 30-second meditation to just to do literally exactly what she said. Like, take a moment, think about what you've done. Fuck, man, it makes me feel great every single time I will listen to that, because, no matter what's going on, like, if you take a moment to appreciate and really appreciate the things that you have done, like, everybody in their life can find something, pretty special that I actually appreciate.
Yeah, and I think it helps you move forward too, just because you take that second and you're like, okay, like, this is where we were. This is some things we went through. Look at what we did from this, and then that, for me, that gives me kind of the perspective of being like, wow, like the sky's kind of the limit on what I feel like I can do and accomplish in the sport, just being where I was, So the perspective that gives you, and, the kind of clear mind and, like the now move on to that next goal kind of attitude is awesome. And, something that's definitely helped me throughout my years of struggle, obviously. But no, it was cool, man. I'm happy to be in the spot we're in, and the bike will look pretty sick with the 1E on it next year. So no, it was cool, man. It was a damn good season, and it was tough for sure. We had a little bit of ups and downs, but we made the best out of each situation. And overall, man, I'm very proud and happy with the way the season went. For sure.
Yeah, man. Well, like, hats off to you, dude. Like, it's really
Thank
cool
you.
to see somebody achieve something that your career's just been so filled with like heartbreak, like constant heartbreak. So, they say nice guys finish last, but in this case, a nice guy didn't finish last. It's really cool to see somebody that really deserves it and really earned it get what they were chasing.
Yeah, I mean, because it definitely doesn't happen too often, So in order to do it the way we did too was pretty awesome. I was hoping to get that last win just so I could have the most wins on the season. Now ended up tying with Jet, but honestly, dude, that kid's got so much skill and talent, and it was fun to race him all year. And for me to be on the podium each time, that was a championship right there. I didn't really have any races that were too big faults, and that was pretty cool too, because that's quite an accomplishment. That hadn't been done in a while either. So that was big motivation for me there. The last few rounds, but overall, man, yeah, it was. That's pretty sick. I was happy with that.
Yeah, man. There's a difference too in a person when you believe you can do something versus you can do something. And I think that example rings true kind of everywhere, man. Like, if you think about just getting the whole shot. Like, there's probably a point in your professional career racing Supercross where you sat on the line and just hoped you could get a whole shot, but you didn't actually believe it. Whereas I'm guessing the Colt Nichols in 2021 sitting on a factory Star Yamaha, you're going to get the whole shot. It's not like you do every time, but there's a switch that kind of flicks, right?
Yeah, it does big time, but it's like so hard to describe that switch because, dude, it's like literally indescribable. And for me this year, it was just, dude, that confidence you have, it's so weird, dude, because it takes over everything. Like, off the track, your swagger, the way you walk, the way you talk, like the way you show up to the gate, like, dude, it's everything. And so for me, like, whatever that is to get that out is what I have to do. Like, for me, it was cool. Like, in 19, me and Bogle doing like these little walk-in like fit pics and stuff, and everyone made fun of us for it at the time. But for me, it was something that was like, dude, that was like a confidence thing. Like, I walked in and I was like, I feel fucking sick. Like, I look tight. Like, I'm about to show up and kick ass and we'll go home. Like, that was the idea. So for me this year, it was kind of the same thing in a sense of being like, once I got to the gate, there was no more questioning if I could do it, especially after we got through the first residency at Houston. Like, going into Indianapolis, I was just radiating confidence. Like, everything that I did, I just felt like I could do no wrong. And, we had 2 really good races there. Then that third one, I had that crash. But, man, I just felt like I was untouchable at that point. I just felt like I could beat anybody, So that's such a cool feeling to have. And it's crazy, man. It can go the other direction so quick, or it can go that way, and stay that way. So you see some guys that can just handle that a little better and constantly be where they need to be. And this year was a big opportunity for me to like grasp that and understand it and be like, okay, if I'm not where I need to be, how do I get myself there, mentally to that point? So we figured that out this year and made some strides in that category. So that was huge.
Yeah, dude, let's try and break that feeling down, because you're so right, man. But like, that feeling sometimes scares me, because I get that feeling too, dude. Like, we just start fucking killing it with shows on the podcast, and like, downloads are going crazy, and like, everything's rolling, and sponsors are calling, and it's like, you're right. Like, and for me, like, I'm pretty big into jiu-jitsu, so that's like a daily kind of struggle that I put myself through. Like, sometimes you just go and just get fucked up by everybody. Sometimes it's that same thing, like, I walk in there and like, I look in the mirror, there's like a mirror at the end of one of the mats, and I like walk in, you catch a glimpse of yourself, and you're like, damn, you're like a fucking G today, dude. Like, there's some people getting bashed right now. And then that carries all over, and you're walking down the beach and fucking, you've just got like that vibe about you. But that vibe sort of almost scares me sometimes, because I'm like, ooh, this shit, like, ups and downs, like, the higher you are, the lower you can go. So it's like, honestly, it's a weird feeling, dude, to try and like stay in that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, especially for us too, just because, I mean, we're a motorsport, like, it's not just us. Like, there could be something that happens with the bike, or like something out of your control, and that brings you back down pretty quick, so then you got to figure out how to bounce back from that and just be like, okay, how do I get back to that point? And dude, it is so tough because this sport, just as soon as you think you got it figured out, it just kicks you in the ass and you're like, wow, like I thought I had it figured out and I definitely did not. So for me, I think the biggest thing was just realizing it. And like I said, being able to snap into that mode and whatever that was, you know, like before the race, I like to be by myself for a second. So whenever I'm in the tunnel, I try to get by myself. I try to replay these things in my head, get me to a point where I feel like I'm ready, you know, like no matter what gets thrown my way, I'll be able to handle it. And dude, that was a big thing for me. And everyone has their thing that's a little different. You know, some people don't have to do anything. They just show up and it's just there, you know, and some people need to work a little harder to get that. But for me, showing up and making sure we were where we need to be every race was huge, man. You can't just have those nights where you're just off. So especially when you're racing against guys that are that good, you know, like Jet, Christian, you know, like all these dudes that are really, really talented and they keep you on your toes. So I couldn't afford to have those nights that were just horrible. So that was probably the biggest breakthrough I had this year, just as a rider and as a person. And I think that's why I had, you know, the success I had for sure.
And what's like when you're in the tunnel and you're taking that moment, what's like the self-talk? Are you talking to yourself in your head? Is there like a conversation that's going on, or is it the opposite where it's like there's no conversation going on and you're just kind of in the moment and there isn't a lot of thinking going on? Because that stuff is super interesting, because that's honestly like the physicality of you this year versus like you're physically the same sort of dude, you know, like from 26 to 27, there's not a big physical change. I'm sure you were training hard as fuck the whole time. Physically, you're the same dude, the bike's the same, but you ain't winning every race like you were this year kind of thing, you know? So it's like, what's the conversation that takes place in your head? Because I feel like that's where the changes actually take place.
Yeah, I mean, the upstairs is really everything for us as dirt bike racers, as you see, with even in the 450 class, like dudes with Coop and Ken and two completely different personalities, you know, and how you get the most out of each one of them is completely different, you know? So for me, like to get me where I need to be, that conversation is literally just sitting there and just being like, dude, like how long have you wanted to be in this position? You know, like how many times was I sitting on the couch, broken leg, you know, busted up shoulder, whatever, and just being like, damn, like I would give anything to be on the gate right now, or, you know, just to be in a championship hunt. You know, I was just like, that seems so far-fetched so many years ago that I was going to be damned if I let that slip away at this point. I was like, dude, I'm so close. And I just wanted to be there for so long that it was mainly just living the moment, dude. Like anytime I tried to think about the future, it would just completely twist anything that I had going. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that. Like, why try to think about stuff that I can't predict anyway? Like, it's motorsports, dude. Like, as soon as you think you're going to, like, everything's going to go a certain way and you're going to have this big plan, it gets blown up in your face every time. So I'm like, dude, let's just live in the moment, enjoy what we're doing, put myself in the best spot I can possibly put myself in, and go out there and just do work. And that's literally all I did. And that conversation was pretty much how it went every time. You know, like I would sit there and kind of crouch down and just be like, all right, like this is it. You know, like this is the spot we always wanted to be. I'll be damned if I'm going to let that slip away. Like, let's go enjoy it and go kick ass and have fun. And that's literally all I did every time. So, like, you know, as long as you can keep that kind of mindset, and for me, that's that happy medium, you know, of being like, it kind of reflects a little bit on the past and you kind of remember some things. And it also makes you so present that you can't think about the future. All you're focused on is the task at hand. And that was the start. And then as soon as you got through the start, it was just putting together the lap. So, man, it was just living in the moment. That's literally the best way I can describe it. And that worked really well for me. I mean, it was just one thing I kept reminding myself over and over and over again. And yeah, it worked pretty damn well.
Dude, yeah, it's so cool, man. I was, it's not released yet, but I just had Deegan on the podcast, and we were talking a lot about Danger Boy and his future, and it's pretty crazy to watch a guy like Brian, who's got so much experience in the industry, and he's just been around for so long. And it was crazy to see like this dad who's just like so genuinely interested in like how to do the best thing for his kid, because it's so hard to get the recipe right to win at the level that you've won at. And I mean, we were sort of going back and forth about like, what would you do? What, you know, kind of just having a chat about what it takes. And one of the things that I said was like, fuck, dude, you kind of just got to build a real gnarly person. You know, like
literally.
you can be a great racer. You know what I mean? Like you can be fast as fuck. You can have like the best bike. You can be super fit. But I think there's like this almost kind of overlooked element. And I think this kind of speaks to like you and the way that you kind of come up and even like Justin Cooper in a way. But it's like sometimes just like being the best racer and having the best bike and like just checking all the boxes. Like if you're not a gnarly dude, like a real gnarly dude. Like when I look at Cooper Webb, I'm like, fuck, he's a gnarly dude. Like,
yeah,
just
you can't
got that shit.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I wonder if that's overlooked. Is like, are we too busy trying to like check these boxes of like bike, fitness, you know, speed, all of this shit without just like making these gangster dudes?
I mean, I think you're right. I think it's like overlooked big time. I mean, you have to check those boxes. Like you got to be fast. You got to be fit. You know, you got to be on a good team. Like all that has to come together for sure. But when you're going head to head with the best dudes in the world, you have to be fucking gnarly. Like you see that with Coop, like every weekend almost. Like you look at the dude and I don't know how many times, like even after a heat race, after practice, I'm like, dude, he's off. You know, like he might get 6 tonight, you know, like based off of how he looks, and the fucker goes out and wins every time. You're just like, how does he do that? You know, like he's just mentally just tough as nails, dude, just as tough as they come. And dude, I've learned so much from that guy. But it was kind of funny, like the other day, Verb Moto posted like those Loretta's vaults thing, and they posted mine. Yeah. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. Like I think I got on the podium like twice there my whole career throughout Loretta's, and dude, I was not that great, you know, as an amateur. I won titles everywhere but Loretta's. But when I look at that, that's like the perspective of being like, okay, like I had some stuff, but I still was not that great. I just had this belief that one of these days I was going to make it happen somehow. I don't know how I was going to do it, because at the time, obviously, I was on the struggle bus. But I was just like, I believe in myself so much that when it comes down to it, I'll be able to go get it done. And when you look at a dude like Coop, I literally think that's just the way he thinks. Like, he looks at it and he's like, yeah, I might have sucked earlier, but I'm still the baddest motherfucker here, and I'm going to go win. And he just does it. And I'm like, dude, that is incredible to me. Like, the dude's tough as nails. He's a gnarly dude. He's fit. He's on probably the best team in the 450 class as far as experience. Like, there's a lot of dudes around him that have won for years, you know, like you can't replace that experience. But the dude is just gnarly. I mean, just tough as nails. And dude, you got to respect that. I don't care who you are. You got to look at that and just be like, I respect the hell out of that. That dude is a racer, like through and through.
Yeah. He's like kind of one of those dudes where, like you'd know these guys, man. Like you probably mountain bike with these kind of dudes where they're just like, they're local guys. They ride the track, or they're like mechanics and industry guys. But then you go on a mountain bike with them, and they're just fucking gnarly. They just want to suffer, dude. Like do you know Wiener? He works for Honda.
Jeff.
Yeah. He's just one of those dudes, man. Full on, like he just is down to suffer. Like there's just some part of that dude's brain where he's just like, let's fucking go. Like this will come down to whoever's the gnarliest dude, and I'll be the gnarliest dude. And you kind of see that in like those, you know, like the ultra marathon runners, like the trail runners and stuff like that. They do like 240 mile races. It's like there's at some level, there's no way that you can train your body to do 240 miles. Like you can't train for it. So like, yes, you've got to be fit, but there's only so fit you can get. That fitness might get you to like mile 40. That's like the trainable zone where you could actually improve. Yeah. And then like the next 200 miles is just like purely mental. And man, I just honestly think that if you did like, if you took all of the top Supercross races, if you did like a West Coast lights and then an East Coast lights and then a 450 class like Buds camp where they, you know, went down to Camp Pendleton, and the guys that win the races and win the championships would probably be the gnarliest dudes in that Buds course. You know what I mean? There's got to be like a correlation there mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. I really do. Just because I mean, dude, you almost got to just be fucked in the head sometimes. Like, you just got to just, I mean, like, you look at a dude like Ricky, like, he was the prime example of a dude that was just, dude, he was just sick. He was just a different breed, you know? Like, he didn't have to do what he did, but every single time he just wanted to kill everybody, just embarrass them. Like, and, dude, it was honestly incredible to watch, like, at a young age, and you really don't get it until you get older and you kind of go through some stuff, and you're just like, wow, like, that dude was built different. And then I see it firsthand, like, I'm pretty good friends with Coop, you know, so I see him a lot. We talk, we hang out, we go play golf, do all these things. And just the way he responds to some things, like whenever you sit back and you look at it, you're just like, would I have responded that way or not? I don't know. But you see the way he responds, and then that makes you kind of think about it, and you're like, oh shit, like, wow, like maybe that's why he is the way he is, you know, and it kind of makes you understand or look at things like a little different. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the mental state can take you a lot further than you ever thought it could. And I've just learned that a lot over the past few years, obviously just with my injuries and stuff that I've gone through personally, but then just being a visual learner, you know, seeing how people do things and being able to pick up on, you know, like how they respond to certain questions or, you know, how they respond when their back's up against the wall. Like, that pressure is something that you can't replace either, you know, like that's a whole different animal too. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and it's a fascinating side of the sport for me. That's the part that I like, you know. I love the strategy side of it, and trying to figure out how I can better myself or, you know, beat somebody else mentally before we ever get there. Like, that's a huge part of it. So yeah, I mean, what better dude to look at than a dude like Coop? I mean, he's pretty prime time at that. So he's got that side figured out for sure.
Yeah, there's just like fucking big dick energy there with Coop, man.
Literally.
Like, and he's made some moves in this season in particular, like when he wrote red plate on the pit board. Just fuck yeah, bro. Give me that. Give me that shit. As you know, like as a fan.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that is the ultimate I mean, dude, if you do something like that, like when you line up at the gate, you better be like, I'm about to go handle fucking business. I mean, you have to do that. Like, because if you do that and you don't, you kind of look like an idiot. So, I mean, like for him, that's that trigger, you know, like that's what gets him to be like, I have no choice. Like, we have to go do what we got to do. And for me, like that was a big thing too, to just be like, okay, like let's get ourselves where we need to be. Think of anything I need to think of. I don't care what it is, what I have to do to get myself to that point, but we got to go handle business, you know, and that was huge. And, but dude, seeing stuff like that, you can't help but just be like, wow, like you just kind of shake your head and just be like, damn, like the dude did it. He does it every time. Like there's never a time when he does something like that and he doesn't pull through. It's incredible. You can't help but admire that.
Oh man, for sure. And like this year at, I think was it Atlanta 3 when Kenny had that big lead and then tipped her in the whoops, and then Coop just like ate that gap down. And the last 2 laps, man, of that race, Coop was so fucking loose, bro. Like he was not riding the motorcycle well, man. Like there was one, you know, you had like that left-hander and then the double, and then you went straight into the right, and it was pretty technical. Like obviously 20 minutes in, she's beat, and it's like a lot of guys were rolling it. And Coop just fucking licks the stamp, press send, and just fucking things going like that. And I'm like, that is a guy that literally in this moment does not give a fuck. Like there's no championship on the line. There's nothing is on the line in that dude's helmet in that moment than winning that particular race. Like he didn't have to do that. No. But you just, you know, you take like that one turn, one jump, one scenario, and it's like that's Cooper Webb in a nutshell. Probably could have rolled that jump, still won the race, did not give a fuck, sent it sketchy as, pulled it off, won the race. You know, it's just that I don't even know. Maybe we're starting to appreciate Coop, but I don't even know if we fully appreciate the dude yet.
No, I mean I don't know if we do either. And you know, we'll look back, I think, at some point. And, dude, the stat that blows me away is the fact that obviously he's a 2-time champ now. And, I mean, you look at that list that he's on, James Stewart has 2 titles. Chad Reed has 2 titles. I mean, there's a lot of dudes with 2 titles. And I'm like, dude, the kid's 25. You know, he's probably only going to get better for the next few years. Like, that is incredible to me. Like, the kid's just good, dude. Like, he just wins. He does what he has to do. He doesn't care who he has to piss off to do it. And he just goes out and gets it done. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan. I'm learning what I can from him. I'm hoping I can apply that to my racing over the next few years. But, man, it's fun to watch. Honestly, I hope I can be, you know, that kind of person, that kind of racer, and that's somebody I admire big time. He's a damn good dude.
Yeah, I think he's a good dude to admire. It's funny though, like I feel like there's probably a balance that needs to happen though. Like you want to be that dude when you put the helmet on, but then you also want to be, I think, when you come off the track, you want to be almost like the lowest rank on the team. You want to see yourself as like almost the fucking janitor, or like you're just there on minimum wage, and Roger's the man, Ian's the man, Carlos is the man, and you're looking up at those dudes. It's like when you're on the track, you want to be above everybody else. But then when you're off the track, you want to be at the bottom. And I think that if you can get that mix, because if you come off the track and you stay in that big dick energy mode and you're the fucking man and no one can tell you shit, then it's like I feel like that's when you can really run into problems. And it's like if you can get that balance right. And the watching Moto Spy, the last episode, I'm not sure if you watched it, but
yeah, that's a good series.
Man, I got a whole new respect for Carlos after watching that episode, dude.
Yeah, he's a man.
I've been around him a long time. I've known him a real long time. That one episode of Moto Spy made me appreciate the shit out of that dude as a mechanic. And it's like, makes sense. 4 titles with Dunge, 2 with Coop. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah, you can kind of see it now, and like, you know why. The dude's just good. That's what I mean. Like, Coop's surrounded himself with a lot of good guys, and like what you were saying earlier, like you come off the track and you know you want to act like you're still the lowest guy. Dude, I think that's what helped me the most this year was I had no choice. Like we would get done with the race, I just won, and I'm feeling great, obviously, about everything. And then we come back to Yamaha, and Christian just whacks my ass like he does every time, along with, you know, everybody else. I'm just like, Jesus, dude, like how I just won 2 days ago, and yet I'm, you know, just absolutely getting whacked. So for me, that reality check was quick, and it always kept me on my toes. Like, I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I was faster than, you know, maybe Christian or some of the 450 guys or whatever. So that was that constant carrot to like chase, and that's what made it so good for me. Was I always felt like I had something to prove. I had that chip on my shoulder of being like, dude, like how come I can't be faster than this guy ever? And then I would show up on the weekends, and that switch would flip, and then it's time to go, and it was fight or flight. And luckily for me, I was able to put it together really well and win some races. But man, that was the reality check though, and that kind of kept that balance, of just being like, I'm still so hungry. I have that chip on my shoulder, and I want to go prove my point. And that's what helped me on the weekends. Honestly, I think that was huge for me this year, and constantly having that person to chase. That was a big deal for me.
What do you think it is about a guy like Christian that can be so fast at the test track, and then even like the race that he got hurt, I was watching race day live, and it was like lap 2 through the whoops, and he just fucking blows by you, dude. And I'm just like, this is insane how good this motherfucker is, but he's just not winning.
Yeah, I mean, every time, like, we'd be at the practice track, and I was like, geez, dude, I cannot keep pace. Like, I'm trying everything. Like, I feel like I'm hanging it out, and the dude just is yarding me. And I honestly don't know. I mean, Coop told me a long time ago, whenever, actually my first year at Star, like, I rode the Yamaha track on a Cycle Trader bike, and Coop was still on Star at the time, and dude, one of the first few times I rode with like the whole Team Swanee crew at the time, and I was so far off. And during the year, I was actually beating a handful of those guys, and we showed up to the track, and I was like, what in the hell? And he came up to me, and he was like, yo, like, I know you're frustrated, but dude, like, it doesn't matter. Like, this does not matter during the week. All that matters is Saturday. And ever since then, I had this whole attitude of being like, okay, like, yes, we want to put together our best effort when we go to the practice track, but at the end of the day, if I'm feeling like I can do everything I can possibly do, that's fine. If I'm not the fastest guy, who cares? But in years past, that would bother me, to where I was just like, why am I not the fastest guy? I don't understand. And I just couldn't grasp that, that somebody was better than me, and this year was the first time I was just like, who gives a shit? Like, I'm out there doing my thing, I'm putting in laps, I'm doing the best I can possibly do, and I'm straight up just I'm getting beat, and I was fine with that, because I knew once we showed up on the weekend, and the lights came on, that's whenever everything mattered, and none of this other shit matters at all. So for me, that's how I kept moving. And as far as Christian, I can't speak for him. I don't know. But, I mean, he had a few races where the dude was, like, even the first round, I felt like nobody was going to beat him. Like, the dude just won, and he made us all look a little silly. And then, we go to round 2, and it was a spot where Jet, I just felt like no one was going to beat him. Like, he was just the best guy that night. So, I mean, things change so quick, and that's what I talk about, the mental side of being able to battle that and get yourself where you need to be each weekend before that gate drops is huge. And I don't know if that's maybe it or what, but luckily for me, I was able to do that. But yeah, it's just it's honestly kind of crazy how some of that stuff works when you sit back and look at it from that perspective.
What's different about racing to practicing? Because it's like, all right, you've got yourself, you've got Christian, you got these other guys like Malcolm and Dylan, the boys that are at the practice track. So it's like all the ingredients are there. It's a full-size Supercross track. It's prepped. It's everything's the same. You're going to do the same amount of laps. You're going to do it with the same guys that you're going to race. But what is different about a race versus the practice track?
I mean, for me, I have a harder time just with that intensity side of things. Like, I mean, there's nothing like just sitting at Supercross, the opening ceremonies, everything goes off, like, dude, the lights, the crowd. Like, for me, that gets me just amped. Like, I am so jacked up that I just am like, I got to bring it. Like, the intensity is there every time. But at the practice track, we show up on a Tuesday, the track's fucking baked, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. I not that I don't want to be there, but I'm just like, I can't simulate racing as well, during that week to bring that intensity that I need. And I'm almost going through the motions sometimes, but for me, it's that. And then also too, I mean, most of the time, like at Yamaha, we all do the exact same line. I mean, it never changes. Like, it's the same line. We float the turns. Everything's the same. And then you go to the race and you're cutting down. There's 4 ruts everywhere, and the whoops just get beat to shit. And everything's just completely different. And for me, I thrive when it's like that. Like, when the track slows down a little bit and you can't just be wide open everywhere, that's when I feel like I'm a little better. So I use that to my advantage. Like, I knew that was going to be the case, and I didn't let during the week bother me. And then when we showed up on the race, that's how it played out. So that gave me just even more confidence. Each time we showed up, to just be like, all right, like, I can suck during the week and get waxed and then show up, and I know I'm going to be fine, and we'll manage what we can do. So I think that's the biggest thing, though, is just the intensity, man. There's nothing like racing when that gate drops and you have to, fight or flight, like, you're going to win. Like, that's whenever I feel like I can thrive. And that's what we live for, that feeling of doing that. Like, gate drops, you want to be the best. During the week, you kind of take off, staggered start, and lollygagging around, and you're not taking off from a gate and the crowd's not there, and it's just harder for me to get into it like that. But something I definitely need to work on, to get a little better during the practice. Even at the races, sometimes my practices are kind of awful. So definitely something we need to try to improve on a little bit. But man, I think there's just nothing like that racing and that intensity you get from it.
Yeah. I will say, I'll give myself a bit of a plug here. I don't know whether it was in the heat race at round 1 or the main event at round 1, but there was just like a point in the race where I was just like, yeah, Colt Nichols is winning the championship. And it just seemed like, so you said it before, Christian Craig, first round, fucking smoke show. Like, he was just killing it. Second round, Jet shows all of the potential that we all kind of assume that he has. But there was just something about the way that you were riding and the way that you were racing. It's like, dude, from fucking round 1, it was like, oh, Colt Nichols is like managing this championship. It was bizarre, dude. And it just never looked like you were out of shape for winning this thing.
No, I felt after, right after Houston won, was when I think it really, really clicked. Because, you show up to the first round, you have no idea, like, how you're stacking up. Like, obviously, I ride with Christian every day, and the dude rips. So, like, that's all I knew. I don't know how anybody else is doing, how anyone else looks, how they're going to race. And there's a bunch of rookies this year, too. So, you throw that into it, and you're just like, yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen. But whenever we left round 1, I was like, okay, I'm winning this title. Like, I just felt like I was in such a good spot. I was coming in with a little bit of an injury, but I got through that race good. I was able to manage it. It didn't affect me in a way I thought it would. And going into that Tuesday race, I was like, man, like, I am about to outsmart everybody. Like, everyone's kind of playing checkers, and I feel like I'm about to play chess. Like, I am going to manage this thing the best that I can, and I feel like I'm going to win this thing just by being smart. And I mean, that's literally exactly how it played. Like round 2 was a huge moment for me too, because I was able to track down Christian at the end of the race, passed him. And from that point on, I was like, I feel like I can do that every time. I feel like I'll be able to do that no matter what. And I can handle this thing. And I was like, all I need to do is just kind of get on a roll. And then Houston 3 was obviously the big breakout where I won. And I was like, okay, it's over. Like, I feel like I'm going to take off on this thing. And that's why it was such a bummer at Indy 3 when I crashed, because at that point I did kind of feel untouchable, you know? So, but I mean, it was pure management. Like I did the best with what I could for each situation. I never panicked. I just kept focusing forward and got a bad start, just picked off as many guys as I could. And I knew that somebody like Jet, I didn't know exactly how it was going to play out, but the kid has such raw speed that I was like, okay, at some point it might bite him. I don't know if it will. And I mean, for his sake, I hope it doesn't. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but he might try to push it a little too much. I was like, I have to take advantage of that. And at a few of the races, that's kind of what happened, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I was definitely trying to play chess the whole time and kind of just manage that thing and go try to get it done. And luckily we were able to do that for sure.
Yeah, dude, it was insane to watch. Like, I don't know for whether I was just fucking drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever it was, but I feel like, you know, people weren't really talking about you in that, like, no one was giving you the championship, essentially. But, yeah, there was just something about the way that you rode and approached each of those early rounds where I was just like, fuck, these dudes do not have a chance. Like, hey, I'm fucking Jet Lawrence fanboy. It's what I got to do. It's pretty much blood at this point. So it's like, I'm all in on that. But there was no way I thought Jet was winning the championship, seeing the way that you were riding at the first round and then, you know, again, the second round, then you win the third round. So it's crazy that you had that feeling. And man, it was fucking obvious. Like, it was just, you could visually see whatever that feeling is that you just described, like you could actually see it.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too, because whenever we got done, this was my first year working with a mechanic I have, Matt Winters, and after the first round, like he was pretty crucial just because he was actually Cooper Webb's mechanic as an amateur and stuff. So he's been around Coop a lot, you know, and so he understands things a little bit, knows how he works, all this stuff, and he was bringing a lot of insight to me. And he's a dude that actually really pushed me pretty hard this year, which is also what I needed. But even after the first round, like we're riding back to the truck and, you know, I'm talking to him and I'm just like, man, dude, I feel like we have this thing. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but after tonight, I just felt like we had it. And he was like, dude, just keep doing what we've been talking about. Put yourself in a good spot. Do what you got to do. Like, you got them covered. Like, let's go play chess, you know, like let's figure out how to manage this thing and do it. And we kind of bounced ideas back and forth. And, dude, I was just able to put myself in a really good spot and look back from the whole thing and just be like, okay, if I don't have the win, that's fine. Like, I'll be on the podium. You know, I just felt like there was no way I was not going to be on the podium no matter what. And if the win's there, we were going to take it. And, dude, I just feel like we managed that really, really well. And I was super proud of the way, you know, I was able to handle that. Just week in and week out, you know, that was such a big deal, and that was literally what won me the title. So, yeah, it was, man. It was hard to describe that feeling, but riding back to the truck after the first round, like I just got third, Christian won, like he waxed me, but there was just something about it. I was just like, man, I just don't think he'll be able to do that every time, and I feel like I have this one. Like, I just feel like I'm in such a good spot, and I definitely was for sure.
Yeah, that's how it's got to be done, dude. There was another moment too where. What round was it? But Jet was kind of like getting into it a little bit with you, even though like I think he was kind of was he like a lap down, or there was some kind of deal, or maybe it was after he come back from hurting his shoulder and you were like obviously going to pass him, but he was kind of playing that cat and mouse with you. And then after the race, you're like sitting down with him and I was just like, this motherfucker's Lil Broing him right now. Like, he's straight up Lil Broing him. You could have been so pissed. Like, you could have been like, fuck this guy, like, and kind of put him in his place and played in, and that could have developed into a thing. And then it's like, you know, Jet's going after Moseman, and then, you know, let's add Colt Nichols into that if he's, you know, if you guys get into it. But even that, I'm just like, this motherfucker is playing chess. Like, he straight up is Lil Bro and Jet. He's got Jet in his back pocket right now. It's like practically a teammate. You know what I mean? He just the dude that like the dude that you're you're waxing him in the championship, and you've somehow figured out how to make an ally and a fan out of Jet Lawrence after he's just like stuffed you a bunch of times. I was like, he is on some shit right now.
Yeah, I mean, my first reaction to all that was obviously you got to be pissed, right? Just because you're like, God, I just want to pass this kid and move forward. And then once I finally was able to get him, I think there was only like a lap or two left maybe, and I was like, all that matters is I got him. Like, I didn't really care. You know, then after the race, I couldn't even help but just be pissed at myself, because that was actually Indy 3 where I got the whole shot and crashed on the start, and came through and was able to get back on the podium and all that stuff. So we had the little cat and mouse, and we're going back and forth and doing all this stuff. And then after the race, I'm like, dude, I will look like an idiot if I try to go after this kid, because him and Christian had just got into it. He got into it with Moseman and like just some random drama, and I was like, I don't need that. You know, like this is chess right here. This is how you play the game. So for me, I mean, and I have a lot of respect for the kid. The kid's got a lot of talent. He was fun to race me clean. Like, yeah, we did cat and mouse, but it was never anything like dirty. You know, he was just protecting the spot. So I respected that. You know, I think he's a good kid, and we were able to chat it up after the race, and you know, just kind of sit there and bullshit, which was cool, because that's my first time I actually ever even got to talk to Jet at all, other than just being like, good luck, you know. So that was actually a pretty cool moment for us. But yeah, that was definitely a time where it could have went the other direction, and you get pissed and you blow up and you make this big ordeal. But for me, I was like, okay, like, is that the smartest thing to do? Probably not. You know, like, let's take a second, relax, and then we can be fine. You know, we'll move forward. So I just couldn't help but be a little mad at myself. I felt like I threw that one away. So I didn't have time to be pissed at Jet. I was just more just like, damn, I should have won that race. You know, I was in the lead. So that's kind of how that went. But yeah, that was a defining moment, I think, a little bit in the series for me too, for sure.
Yeah, and they're the moments that win championships too. Like, there's not, you know, it doesn't have to be on the racetrack during those, you know, 15 minutes or whatever for the main event that count towards the championship. Dude, it's those moments too, man. It's the interactions in the pits. It's the you know, the vibe at track walk. Like, there's so much shit that goes into winning these championships. And like, we kind of got to see, I don't know whether people maybe overlooked it or if people noticed it, but yeah, like, to me, that looked like a huge moment in the championship where I was like, this could have easily gone the other way. And man, I think that whole, like, the bullshit with Moseman and Jet, that was huge in Jet's championship, I think. Like, I really think that, like, the bullshit that he got involved with Moseman early. I mean, the one thing when I lived over there, and I was just a fan that before I'd sort of done the tour and gone to all the races, like, I just didn't understand how important every single time you were on the track was, whether it was track walk, first practice, dude, everything counts. And you can see it with privateers, like at the top level, like with you boys, it's not as obvious to see, right? But in our position with like JDR, right, we had it was at LA, I think it was the round where Trey got hurt. But Ryan Marmont was riding for JDR, and he was doing like a few rounds over there as a part of like the West Coast deal. And he, like, something happened, and he got kind of lucky in quali. And then he got a real good gate pick. And then he whole shotted the heat. And then he like got past and got 5th or something in the heat. And then he whole shotted the main. And it was just like, if he didn't get lucky in practice to get that gate pick, to then get that whole shot, to then get passed by only 5 dudes in the heat, to then you know what I mean? Like, it's set up so far. In a good night in Supercross is set up the moment you walk the track, essentially. And it just seems like, that moment with you and Jet was one of those moments where it was like an off-track experience that actually added value to you winning that championship.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it did. But I mean, going back to what you were saying, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's the confidence thing, just like we were talking earlier, but also too, it's like the management of things, and you got to put yourself in a spot to almost get lucky. You know, like, you can't have this beef with this guy and go out there and practice, and you're so worried about just fucking with this other guy that you can't even go do your thing. Like, you have to put yourself in a spot where you can be straight, go out there and handle your business, do it the best way that you can possibly do it, and then go home, you know? So for me, whenever I saw all that early, the first thing I could think of was, I was like, dude, I have to stay away from all that. Like, somehow, I don't know how, but I did a really good job this year of making sure I wasn't in that spot, you know, to have that beef with somebody, or to also try to be head to head with somebody. Like I was head to head with Christian, and maybe if we were on different teams, it would have been different. But for us, we weren't going to do anything crazy to each other. Like in practice, we weren't sitting there like fucking with each other, like whatever, you know, so it was fine. But yeah, I mean, that plays a big role, dude. I mean, obviously like Mosman put Jet on the ground, you know, Jet put Mosman on the ground. Like that's huge, you know, like that's spots. That's a bad gate pick in a heat, which leads to a horrible start in the main, and you know, it just snowballs. So it can go that way or it can go the other way.
It's like rent in your head too, you know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it goes off all the time. If you have somebody that you have this thing with, you're wondering if that's them behind you, you know? So you're like not focused forward. You're looking at that, just be like, man, I got to look over my shoulder. So yeah, it's one of those things that it's tough, and to avoid that is damn near impossible. But if you can kind of get away from it and still try to like stay in your own lane, which is luckily I was able to do that this year, it makes a big difference.
What were you and Jet talking about there? That's cool that was your first time ever really talking.
Yeah, it honestly really was, just because like, I don't know, our sport's weird, dude. Like dudes don't just like hang out and talk all the time, which I think is kind of weird. And I'm a pretty open book. Like, dude, if you have something to talk to me about, come talk to me. I don't really care. Like, I'll talk to you about anything, you know? I feel like I'm fairly easy to talk to. I get along with a lot of people, and it's fine. But so many dudes in the sport feel like they're like losing an edge if they talk to your competitor or like whatever, you know, which I think is retarded. Like when we put the helmets on, let's go. Like, I don't give a shit who you are. But for me, it's just different. And, you know, Jet's such a young kid. He's trying to, you know, figure all this sport out and how everything works. And I'd actually never raced him before this year, because I was hurt the whole year before. So when we were sitting down, I was just like, yo, like, dude, you're killing it. Like, it's been fun to watch, honestly, as a fan. Like, dude, you're so young. You got so much skill. Like, you know, just keep your head right, do your thing. Like, you're going to have a bright future, honestly. And that was the only really words of advice I could give the kid, because obviously he's kind of crushing it. But it was honestly cool just to sit and chat, you know, like see his personality, see how he is. You know, we're talking about just random shit, his little injury he had at the time with his shoulder, and talking about the track and just all this stuff, you know. So it was kind of cool to sit and do that for just a second. And then at Salt Lake, actually, in the tunnel before we went out for maybe the night show or practice, I don't remember what it was, but same thing. He kind of was behind me, and I'm just sitting there kind of chatting him up. I'm like, dude, when you come to California, like, let's golf or something, you know, let's get together and go have some fun, or, you know, do whatever. And not a whole lot of guys really do that, you know, with, I guess, I don't want to call it a rivalry, but competitors. And I just think that's kind of silly. You know, I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm out here by myself, you know. It's like I have a bunch of family, or, you know, really a bunch of close friends. I'm like, who gives a shit? Like, let's go play golf and enjoy ourselves, and you know, get to know people a little better. A lot of people don't really do that in the sport. So no, it was cool, man. He's a good kid, and honestly, he's got such a good personality. He's fun to be around and stuff too. So I mean, I was like, why not? I feel like we'd hit it off and have a good time, to be honest with you. So that was kind of all we talked about, really.
Have you ever been on Jet's TikTok?
I have not. No, I don't have a TikTok, and I've actually never been on it, so I couldn't say what it is or not.
It is a trip to me that probably the future of our sport dances with his shirt off on TikTok and just has bitches dripping.
Yeah, I mean, if I was that age in his spot, I'd be doing the same damn thing. So I can't really say. Obviously, I don't know what it is, but I mean, dude, he's in a good spot. Let's say that. Just probably drowning in it. So honestly, good for him. It's pretty funny. So I can't blame the kid. You know, I'd probably be doing the same thing if it works. Whatever. You know, you got to do what you got to do. Can't knock him.
Yeah, dude. He's honestly the man. Like we had him on the Supercross Companion, and he watched Hunter's first race, and like, he just doesn't give a fuck, dude. Like, he ordered Panda Express, and he's like eating fucking Panda Express, and then like just losing his shit, screaming at the fucking dogs. Like, it was the biggest shit show you've ever seen. But like,
yeah, that makes me wish I was 18 still, for sure.
Yeah, just like young kid, and he's just killing it, and he's got like literally got this crazy future, you know, ahead of him. Yeah. Like, and I think that we're gonna enter a pretty cool era of motocross. You know, like, I was thinking about it last night, watching Jet. I was actually just watching Jet's TikTok, and the way that he's posting these videos, and it's like we're literally about to enter the SoundCloud rap generation of motocross. Like that, you're
That's
like
a good way to put it,
fucking,
actually. Yeah.
You're like some fucking, legit. What are we gonna do? Like The Game and 50, maybe. What's like a bit more recent than that? But it's like, then you've got this whole like SoundCloud, you've got Trippie Redd, XXX Tenacion, and you've got like all of these Lil Uzi Vert, like all these little fucking weirdos that are just making like this crazy music that's just going to all these people on the internet. And I feel like that's what the lights class is going to be in like the next few years. All these kids, they just got like this kooky style that, not kooky in a bad way, but it's like so different to moto. Like, Jets running Supreme shit flat out, and like Evan Ferry, and you've got like that. There's going to be like this new wave and this new style that kind of comes through moto. It's going to be pretty sick to watch.
Honestly, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, changing tides, that happens every time, but like this era of guys that are in there, and I feel like our sport's getting younger and younger. Like, I mean, you have a 2-time champ, that's 25 being Coop, and these young kids that just start doing things so early, like they get involved with like these teams at such a young age, and they're so much more prepared than obviously somebody like I was at that age. So I mean, our sport's getting younger and younger, and it's honestly kind of cool to see the new personalities and people that I hope can take this sport, to another level. Like me, obviously I'm a little older by now, but it is honestly kind of cool to see, and it's fun. Like, these kids are kind of idiots. I got a bunch of young teammates with Star, and dude, they are so funny. Like, just being around them, like, they already have so much skill and so much talent, and they're so good, but they're still, 16 to 19 years old. Like, they're just kids. They just want to be idiots, So it's really, really funny to be around them. It makes me wish I was still that age, but honestly, it's a new era that's ushering in for sure, and I'm here for it. I think it's awesome, honestly.
Dude, yeah, I'm the same. I think media is going to change a lot. Like, we've had, I mean, I'm doing my bit media-wise to try and, like, bring a new sort of style to it. But I think these kids are going to have the way that they interact with their fans, their type of fans. Like, dude, Jets just got a bunch of young chicks watching Supercross. Like, how the fuck did that happen? I mean,
yeah, you
dope,
gotta respect it.
Super dope. But, like, how did that happen?
Yeah, literally. I mean, but that's just the way it works. I mean, a young kid with a lot of clout. I mean, all people care about nowadays is Instagram followers, and he has a lot. So for him, he's probably feels like he's untouchable. An 18-year-old kid with all this clout, like, dude, DMing chicks left and right. Just do whatever you gotta do. Like, it's honestly probably pretty sick. Like, good for him, honestly. But I mean, I'm sure all these kids are that way, and it's cool to see. I'm here for it, man. I love it.
Well, the one cool thing, you kind of mentioned it before, like you and Bogle, like walking in with a good fit. I mean, I've roasted that earring of yours that you're running. Was it last year, the year before? But I mean, I roasted the fuck out of it, but I'm all about it.
You know how many people have told me that? Like, dude, I have got so many DMs that are just like, you're an idiot, or you're, gay, or whatever the fuck, dude. People just go off on me about it. But, dude, it's honestly funny. But at the time, like, when I didn't really think anything of it. Like, I just thought it looked cool, so I did it. And, like, people just obviously have a big problem with it most of the time. And especially, I think, because our sport is an older sport, So you got these old moto heads that are just nothing but moto and metal. And, dude, they just hate it. Like, they hate the fact that I'm, like, whatever, I guess trying to not be that. So it is kind of funny, but dude, we just do stuff that we think is cool. I mean, like, I just thought it looked cool, so I did it. And as far as like the walk-in fit pics and like all this stuff, like, we just thought the shit was cool. Like, we're big NBA fans. Like, all these dudes do that all the time.
Yeah, dude.
Granted, they just have a shitload of money, so like their stuff looks pretty tight. And like, we're not on that level, but we can kind of baby baller it for a little bit, and kind of figure it out and get what we can. But that was just a different aspect, a different side of things. That was kind of us. Like, I wanted kids to do that, like I wanted, like the Jets and the, my younger teammates, all that stuff to do that. I mean, that's just a new era of things. Like, none of these old dudes were doing stuff like that. So that's just a small example, but I mean, yeah, it's going to be different. And these kids have a new flair and new style. The way they even ride the bikes are completely different. So but like I said, I'm here for it, man. I hope I can be somewhat of a catalyst in that category to try to make things a little different. I'm not trying to say more pop, but just more me. I mean, this is me. This is what I like, So whatever that is for whatever these kids, just to not have to be so cookie cutter. Like, just do your thing, dude. Have fun. Like, be a kid. do what you enjoy. If you want to dress like an idiot or do whatever, do it. Like, who cares? Like, I don't want all these kids to think they have to do things a certain way. And our sport's not like that. You know, like we're moto, it's completely different from anything else. So why not off the track too? You know, might as well make it fun and do shit you enjoy.
Nah, I'm all about it, dude. Like, I legit watch NBA walkout videos. Like, I'm fucking all about it, dude. Like, you watch like the highlights on YouTube. Like, you motherfuckers are that sick.
Yeah, honestly. Well, I mean, obviously they make bread, but it is cool to see. I mean, like, I'm into that kind of stuff anyway, so it's honestly pretty funny. The little bit that I can do is obviously not much, but it makes it fun. Like, that's stuff we enjoyed, you know, like going in the mornings, like I said, you just have that kind of swagger and you feel all sick. Whether anyone thinks you look that way or not, like, you feel it. So it's like, who cares, you know? Like, so many people just look at you like you're an idiot, like when we're walking in doing these picks, but I didn't really care. I was just like, we don't give a shit. Like, this is fun to us, you know? So that was something that was really cool. And yeah, I honestly hope, you know, ushering in like a new era of kids to do whatever they want to do, whether that be that or just anything, you know, just to have fun and enjoy the process. I mean, I'm doing this with my friends, you know, like this is with my buddy Justin, who I've been friends with since I was 4, you know, my buddy Brad Frace, who we're really, really close with. And it was just us. I mean, we were just friends having fun, you know, like you can't really knock that. So that was a cool time for sure. We're gonna have to bring him back next year. No doubt about it.
Hey, I'm all about that shit, dude. I'll get like Swanberg or Garth Milan, and we should tee up like a crew every week for Supercross and like get them to light it and shit. And like, let's actually do like a legit fucking walkout fit picks for Super 2022. I'm fucking down, dude.
Well, I keep buying all these cool clothes, and that was kind of half the problem. Was me and Justin we were on buying, you know, preem shit back in, you know, 12, 13, 14, like all this stuff for years. Like, we would buy all of it and we were like, well, where are we going to wear it? Like, we don't do anything cool. Like, it's not like we go to parties and do all that shit. Yeah, literally. I mean, like, it's just like, that's all we do, you know, like we're busy racing and we're focused doing our thing. We can't really like show it off. And I was like, dude, I got so many cool clothes in my closet. I haven't even worn them. I was like, let's just do these walk-in. It gives me a reason to bring this shit or at least wear it. So I was like, why not? And that was literally the whole conversation we had before A1 in 2019. And that's why we did it. And it was honestly fun, man. It just kept kind of progressing and got to a point where it was pretty cool. So I'm with it. We're going to have to do that, man. Garth or Swan, one of those dudes. Those are cool dudes anyway. So I'm with it. Yeah,
that'll be about it for sure. What brands are you into?
I'm kind of all over the place. Like, here lately, I've been into like some, like, this was actually a lot of inspiration. This is my FMF line I just did of like my own little merch. And there's this guy. Sick. Yeah, there's this guy that owns this company called One of These Days. And it's just like a streetwear brand. And it's just more like, it makes me feel at home for some reason. It's just like all a bunch of Western, like all this old, super cool decor, like just like horses and just random shit. And I think it's awesome. But even a dude like Russell Westbrook, he has his own line called Honor the Gift. And it's they make some really, really cool clothes. I've been kind of all over the place. But anything I think is cool, I'm not one to just be like, oh, it's not this, so I can't buy it. Like, if I think it's cool, I buy it and I wear it. So I spend way too much money on it, but I don't really care. It gives me some joy, so might as well. Worst things to be addicted to, I guess. So
yeah, everyone needs a vice. Are you a shoe dude?
Yeah. Oh, big time. Yeah. Got a full shoe room where like the whole side is kind of just shoes. It's kind of embarrassing, honestly. I got some buddies staying with me now, and it's just nothing. I mean, dude, there's shoes everywhere. I'm like, this is pretty ridiculous. Like, I need to get rid of some shit. It's bad. It's taking up my whole other extra room. So, yeah, we got to do some cleaning. But yeah, I buy way too many shoes for sure. It's bad.
What's like the shoe lane that you're in?
I'm kind of all over. Like, I have a lot of basketball influence. So for me, like when I was younger, like I played basketball all the way through my high school years. So all the way through my junior year, I played high school ball. Yeah, and my sister went to JUCO, played ball. My dad, he played ball all the way through high school. Then at this local little college he went to. So we were just into it. Like at a young age, I would watch basketball all the time. So like Jordan obviously was it. So we had Jordans throughout our whole childhood growing up, and now like anytime there's a Jordan drop on this little sneakers app, I'm buying Jordans or whatever. Like I have a handful of Yeezys and, you know, some Vans I think that are tight, but yeah, a bunch of Jordans. Yeah, like I said, a handful of Yeezys, like a bunch of Stan Smiths, like just some classic clean looking shoes. And yeah, I got just too much. I'm all over the place. I got way too much shit. I need to calm it down. But honestly, like it's something I enjoy doing, and getting dressed up, go to dinner, do whatever. It makes it kind of fun. So I guess that's why I do it. I honestly don't know. It's ridiculous.
Hey, I'm with it, bro. I'm with it. I ain't mad at it. I didn't know that you went to JUCO to play fucking basketball.
No, I did. My sister did.
Oh, your sister.
My sister went and played. Yeah, so I went to high school all the way through 11th grade. And then last year it was, they essentially told me, they were like, if you miss as many days as you did last year, we're going to have to fail you. And I was like, ooh, not good. So we had to do online school my last year of high school. So that's why I did that. And then I moved up to the Rainer training facility full time that year and started really trying to do this thing. So that was kind of the idea. But yeah, I enjoy going to public school, man. I played high school ball, ran track, did kind of whatever I could do, and was pretty involved with stuff. So, but yeah, we had a big basketball influence in the family for sure. That was like kind of a big deal when we were younger. So that made it kind of fun, and that's kind of where my style kind of obviously has progressed and taken me to where I'm at now. It's probably because of that.
Yeah, right. Dude, I don't think, I mean, it bums me out a little bit with Bogle. I feel like he doesn't show us enough of himself. Like, I know Bogle away from the track. Like, I had some pretty fun times with Bogle. And he's a fucking G, bro. Like, straight up. Probably one of the, if you had to, like, air quotes the word cool, that's Bogle. That's pretty much, like, the easiest way to sum up that motherfucker. Like, he is just smooth as silk. And I just feel like, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure he's got his reasons. Like, I'd love to talk to him about it one day, but like, he does not show all of him. And I feel like if he, I mean, I get the reasons, and I mean, obviously, like, you know, you can't speak for him, but I feel like he probably feels a bit of pressure to be, like, fit the moto box. And I feel like if your results are bad and you're, like, interested in rapping and, like, got this cool fashion and all this other shit, like, it's real easy for people just to start tearing you down. So I feel like it's probably easier for him to hide that part of him. But, like, fuck, dude, not many people are standard cool more than Justin Bogle. Like, he's about as cool as it gets.
Honestly, he's one of the most, like, authentic, best dudes like I've ever met. Obviously, I mean, like, we've been friends since we were 4. I mean, we've been racing each other every weekend for as long as I can remember, and he's genuinely just a good dude. Like, I mean, I go to him for advice on damn near everything. I talk to him every day. Like, dude, he's such a good guy. If he's got your back, he's got your back. Like, the dude just, they don't really make him like him anymore. He's really a genuine dude. And I mean, like I said, I can't speak for him as far as showing us more. I mean, I kind of wish he would too. I wish he'd just show his face more. He's stuck in Florida right now, but man, dude, when we're together, it's such a good time. He's such a good dude, and he's literally the definition of cool. I mean, he just is. He's very smooth with his words, knows how to talk to people. He's got swag just out the door. So, I mean, we kind of, when we get together, it's fun. You know, like, we have a good time. And but like I said, he is genuinely one of the best dudes I've ever met. Like, dude, just such a rock solid guy. Like, if he messes with you, like, that's your guy. You know, like, sometimes he gets the persona of, you know, kind of, I think maybe being by himself or doing whatever. But I mean, the dude just is genuine as it gets. And if he don't fuck with you, then he don't fuck with you. And that's just the way it is, you know, like, he's not going to lie to your face about it. Like, he is just such a good dude. And I respect the hell out of him. Like, one of my best friends. And, I mean, we, like I said, been that way since we were 4. So long friendship there, and much deeper than just racing. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely, like I said, I understand why he probably hides a little bit of that side of himself. Like, it'd be so easily judged, you know, in the sport if you're sort of doing bad, which fucking sucks. But I mean, I don't know. If my words count for anything, Bogle, show us who you are, bro, because you a G. You were straight up.
You need to get him on. You need to get him on the show, man. He's a good talk too, for sure. He's got a lot of good insight, and such a good dude, man. He's got a lot of words of wisdom. So, I miss that guy. Hopefully, I'll see him soon. I hope he comes out here and, you know, gets ready and rides a little bit before Paula, and we can hang out. And he usually stays with me when he comes out here, so it's a fun time. I miss that dude for sure.
Yeah, man. I'd have him on in a heartbeat when he comes out here for sure. There's the whole Oklahoma clique was always super cool, man. Like Reynard was kind of the matriarch of that whole deal. And then, you know, you got Trey, you got the Albertsons, you got Bogle, you know, you got yourself. There is, and, you know, Faulkner's kind of in that crew as well. Like, OK has produced some fucking legit dudes.
Yeah, I mean, dude, back in that era when I was living at Robbie's was some of the most fun, amazing experiences of my life. Like, just being around the people I was around. And I talked about this, I think, in another podcast, but I think mainly those years, like 2012, 13, 14, were pretty crucial years as far as my career goes. Like, it was my last few years of amateur, first year of pro, like I did the arena cross thing in 14, and dude, so many things just did not go the way I wanted them to. But for me, I was around all those dudes. Like, Robbie is one of the best dudes I've ever met. Like, give you the shirt off his back kind of guy. Like, dude would do anything for me. And, you know, Justin was the same way because he's my ride or die. And being around Trey, he had such a positive perspective all the time that he couldn't really let you get too down in the dumps. He was he was like reviving me almost, you know. So just being around those dudes were, you know, at a good time in my life too when I was younger and I needed that good influence was huge for me, man. We had such a good group of guys. Like, by now, you know, Trey's retired and we've all kind of split and we're doing our own things, but at that time of my life, it's exactly what I needed. Like, just the people I had around me were huge, and it was so much fun. Like, we used to ride at Trey's all the time. Like, Robbie would have us dialed at his place, and man, those were some really, really fun times, and with really, really good people. Like, just the most genuine people you could get, for sure.
There's something definitely to be said about a state that's pretty out there and not, you know, like, you guys are fairly isolated in a way out there. Like, you're away from Florida, you're away from California. There's definitely something to be said about a group of guys that can come together for the same goal. And then in terms of, you know, you've got great dirt, you got great tracks. Like, there's a little bit of a recipe that goes on out there. And then when you get the right group of dudes around, you know, it's created some pretty special, you know, some pretty special rides from that state.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of incredible when you think about it, just the fact that two guys around the same era, being me and Justin, and even Trey, really, just because he's not that much older than us, were able to come from this area, and we rode together. I mean, we saw each other every day. It was just like one of those things where it was perfect harmony at the time, so you don't really think about it, but the fact that we've been able to do what we've done, like Trey's a, you know, East Coast Lights champion, and he won an outdoor title. Justin's the East Coast Lights champion. I just won an East Coast Lights title, and for all of us to do that, and kind of, granted, like, Trey's was, you know, really early on his rookie year, but in the same kind of era as far as how old we are, and just, I mean, mine was obviously quite a bit later, but it's honestly kind of crazy to think about, you know, the fact that happened. And the catalyst for at least me and Justin was Robbie Reynard, you know, and even at the time for Trey, he was around, and Robbie would help him with quite a bit of stuff off the bike, on the bike, and Trey had his own people, you know, in his corner, but Robbie was always there, you know, to lend a helping hand if he needed it. And that's what I mean. Like, Robbie was just a good, genuine guy. And man, that was just, is a good group of us. I think we needed each other to do what we did. You know, like, Trey was the first one. He kind of branched out and did it on his own, but Justin literally followed exactly in the same footsteps, rode for the same team, you know, went out and did the same things. Like, that's what I wanted to do. You know, I thought that was my path too, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, it all started there, and I think we needed that. Like, I needed Justin to be successful in order for me to be like, wow, I can do it too. You know, like, I saw that, I was with this dude, like, I feel like I can do it, you know, and that was huge for all of us, man, to be able to kind of just bang, 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 be able to do that. And I was around Trey, and he's a real genuine dude too. But I think that's what it boiled down to, is they were just genuine guys, man. We wanted the best for each other. We pushed each other hard, but man, just good people, man. Good people. I can't say enough good things about all the people we had around us, and yeah, made me who I am today, for sure.
There's an element of it though where I'm sure it could go the other way, where you're the last dude to do it, and you've had all this shit go down in your career, and it's like, this is the year, man, broken leg. This is the year, man, another injury. This is the year, you know, and it's like, you've seen your mates do it, but you're not able to get it done until you did, obviously. But it's like, there's it's a bit of a feather in your cap that, you know, you've got these guys that are around you that you would see yourself on the same level with, and it's like they're just, you know, they're winning these titles and it hasn't happened for you yet. So I mean, there's definitely something to be said about just staying in the game and keeping the right perspective as those guys are doing it. And I'm sure that, you know, like you being so genuinely happy for those guys probably made the process a little bit easier. But I mean, I'm sure there's an element of like self-doubt there around, you know, they're doing it, but you're not yet, you know?
Yeah, but that self-doubt started so long ago. Like when I tell you they had the same like trajectory and did the same things, it literally started as amateurs. So Trey was a Team Green guy. He goes to Loretta's, wins 2 titles in the B class, signs with Geico Honda. Justin Bogle goes to Loretta's, goes 6 for 6, signs with Geico Honda as a B rider into his A year. So for me, as a B rider, I'm like, okay, I got to go to Loretta's. I got to win 2 titles and sign with Geico Honda. That didn't happen. So then for me, I'm just like, well, like that obviously didn't work. Like, let's try it again the next year. Like maybe I can do that as an A rider and then, you know, just follow it a year later. That didn't happen. So then I'm like, well, shit. Like I thought that's, you know, the way I needed to do it. I've seen 2 guys do it that way. I didn't know if it could be done any other way than what I have seen. So that was kind of where it started. And then after that, I was just like, all right, like fuck it. My path's just going to have to be different. Like I wanted it to be that, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. And then I went to Arena Cross, and that's whenever it started to click to just be like, okay, like it's definitely not going to be what I thought. But if I keep the right attitude and perspective, I'll get there eventually. And that's honestly what led me to do what I just did, you know, this past weekend and become a champion. But man, that path started very early to where the self-doubt was like, fuck, I guess I'm just not going to do it. You know, like if it's not done that way, I guess it can't be done. And I just had this belief that I was going to do it, and I was going to do it no matter what. You know, I just was like, I guess my path's going to be a little harder. I didn't know, but I just was like, fuck it, we're going to keep digging. And one of these days, hopefully it'll happen, really.
When you say, like you said a few times, like I just had this belief, like where does that even come from? Because that's a weird thing in itself, right? To just like believe in some shit that you have like absolutely no control over.
Yeah, I honestly think it was just another big catalyst for that was probably Robbie and Robert Raynard. You know, I started training with Robbie whenever I was I think I went there for the first time in the summer, like when I was out of school when I was 12. I went there for the first time. My dad was like, maybe he can help you get a little better, you know, and then I went there every summer throughout the school years, and then I moved there permanently. But Robbie used to just always tell me, like he would just reinforce the fact, he was like, dude, you are so good. Like I've been around you for years. You can do it. You know, like you're good enough. You have skill. Yes, it hasn't worked out the way you wanted, and you've been riddled with injuries. Even as an amateur, I was riddled with injuries and really slowed down the process of being able to build something good. And it was just those people I had around me. I mean, he was just like, dude, don't quit. You know, like we got to do it. I'll figure it out. Like I'll try to get some money together. We'll throw you in a van and take you to the race if we have to. You know, like I don't care. And that's just all he kept saying to me all the time. And he was just constantly reassuring me. Every time I was like, dude, like, I guess I'm going to go to college. Like, I don't know what to do. You know, like that summer in 2014, it was, I raced Arena Cross. I didn't have a bike though, because they took it back. And he was like, dude, you made a little bit of money from racing Arena Cross. Go buy a bike, you know, like, and we'll figure out the next move. Like, I don't know what it's going to be. I can't tell you, but if we have to, we will load you up in my van. I'll drive you to the race. I'll pay for your entry, and you can go do what you got to do. And that's where the belief kind of started, I think, like before that, you know, just for him to just be like, have so much confidence in that. I was just like, okay, there's got to be something there if he just will not stop with it. And then obviously my family too, but you kind of expect that from your family. And then, you know, I had people like Robbie, Trey, and Justin just kind of keep reassuring that. And I was like, okay, I mean, fuck, if they believe it, I guess I need to start, you know, and maybe that'll be the first step of going out and doing it. So honestly, just those people, man, they're such good people, and kind of the reason that kind of kept me going. And that's how I had the belief that I would do it.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. So you were just riding somebody else's belief in you.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, because at that point, I was so down in the dumps that it didn't happen the way I wanted it to, that I was just like, man, it just ain't meant to be. Like, you know, I guess I'm just not going to be a professional supercross racer. But in my head too, though, I knew I had talent, and, you know, I knew that what I could do could be special if I had the right circumstance. I just never had that, you know, like even as amateurs, I wanted to be on, PC at some point, just to be like, man, I'm a team green guy. Maybe I can transition into there. And I never felt like I fully got to show what I could do. Every time I started to get on a roll, I'd win titles at these amateur races, and going to Loretta's, I get hurt. I missed Loretta's 2 years in a row, and that's all anyone cared about at the time was Loretta Lynn's. If you won, you were sick. Otherwise, you were nothing. So I missed that race too many times, and, I always was just like, fuck, dude. Like, I know I can do it. I just haven't been able to show it to anybody. And then even the times I did get, like, in arena cross, dude, I got my ass kicked. I got waxed every time. Like, I was not that great. But at the time, I was like, I needed that. I needed to go get beat by these dudes, like a Bauer, Zach Ames. Like, those were my teammates at the time on Babbitt's. And I was like, I needed that. That woke me up pretty quick to just be like, okay, if you want to do this, like, you better get your shit together. And it's going to be a lot harder than you think it is. And so that was the first kind of reality check to just be like, okay, I can't just coast around thinking an opportunity is going to fall in my lap and I'm going to make it happen. Like, I can't think that way anymore. And so then right after arena cross, that's when I just fully was like, fuck it. I'm doing anything I got to do. And I told Robbie that too. I was like, whatever you want me to do training wise, whatever I need to do, I'll go take out a loan. I'll do anything I have to do. Like, let's go make it happen. And that was the biggest transition point for me, for sure. Because I always had this attitude of like, how come all these other kids are getting rides? Like, how come they're doing this? Or they show up in these motorhomes and they're sick as hell, and we're showing up in this busted ass trailer because we have no money and all this stuff. And I constantly had this chip on my shoulder of why not me? And then once I went and kind of just got waxed in arena cross, I was like, wow, like, dude, like, maybe you're not as sick as you think you are, like, maybe you need to get your shit together. So that reality check was good. I needed that big time. And that kind of put my ass in gear. And then constantly having those people around me too, to reassure the fact that, like, hey, dude, it's not easy. Like, you're not going to get that opportunity. You got to go make one. And once I realized that mentally, like, being a little older and kind of understanding how the world works, that it was the wake up I needed. And I'm like, okay, like, let's go to work, let's go do it. And literally from that point on, I did. I mean, because the last round of arena cross that year might have been Salt Lake, if I'm not mistaken, in some little arena. And dude, I just remember crying after the race, just being like, dude, like, this is not what I wanted, not the opportunity I wanted, but I took it because I had nothing else, and I just shit the bed. Like, I did horrible. Like, I did not do good at all. I think I won one race that whole season, but dude, I just got beat down. And I just remember crying in the hotel room. I got my family there, and I'm just like, mate, I guess this is it. Like, I guess I tried and it didn't work out. And then I was like, went back home, had the talk with Robbie, and that's when everything's really transitioned and changed big time. It was literally, if I can pinpoint one spot in my career, that was probably it for sure.
So you almost have like a rock bottom moment, and then you like give yourself up to the process, because the way that you were doing it before, you hit that rock bottom. It obviously wasn't working. Then you have that moment, and then Robbie talks to you, and then you're just like, all right, dude, whatever, you tell me whatever I got to do. And it's almost like you just pulled your own ego or whatever out of the way of that. And you were like, all right, you tell me to jump, how high?
Exactly. I mean, that's literally exactly what happened. Because before that, to a point, like, I'd been a team green kid for a long time as an amateur. And I always just thought that, like, it was just going to happen somehow, without looking at it and being like, I'm going to go work harder than everybody. I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. I was just like, yeah, something will happen. I mean, it's got to, right? Like, it happened for everyone else. Why not me?
Yeah.
And I just had this kind of attitude, like just a shithead little kid, thinking that why, like, it's going to happen for sure. Like, I'm too good not to. And I obviously was not. So I realized that path wasn't Bogles. It wasn't Canards. It wasn't dudes that were just so good and went and won everything, because I'd never done that. And so, whenever I did hit that rock bottom at arena cross, I was like, okay, it obviously ain't going to work the way I thought it was. Like, I'm going to have to go work harder than everybody. I'm going to have to go prove my point time after time again and get to a point where I feel like I can finally win. And the first step was getting through arena cross. And I was like, okay, how am I going to make money first in order to go pay to, like, get myself to the race? And that's when the Costa Rica opportunity came about. Went and raced there all summer, made a decent amount of money. That's the only thing that kind of kept me afloat that next year on Crossland Honda. And but then I got that opportunity to go race Supercross. I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I wanted to race Supercross. Like, arena cross was one thing, and that was such an amazing experience, and I needed that. But 2015, I was like, okay, rookie Supercross season. Now I can maybe go show my potential. I've worked my ass off. I feel like I have a completely different outlook on life. Let's go see what we can do. And luckily enough, I only raced 5 races that year. But it drew maybe enough attention. I maybe did okay enough to do the cycle trader thing. And all I wanted was a cycle trader opportunity. I was like, I know I'm not going to get a factory ride, but if I can get on this bike, I know I can do well. I was like, that's all I need. Just give me that opportunity. I'll go make it happen, and then I'll sign with Star Racing and go win a title. That's all I could think about that whole time. So that was the opportunity I needed for sure. So shout out to Christina and Chris Denny, man. That was a big breakthrough for me.
Yeah, man, dude. That's such like a legit team too, man. Like you look at the guys that produce, you know, like you and Alex. Like there was some really good dudes that came out of that program.
Yeah, I mean, even at the time too, it was one of those things where, you know, I tried the year before to get on it, but they were just like, nah, like obviously we don't even know who you are, like whatever. And so I did the Crossland thing just because it was local. Dude, Guy Cooper was the team manager, like a Oklahoma legend.
That's
and that's
insane.
The only reason why, I even got that opportunity is because I was local too. So that's kind of how that worked. And that's like literally Guy had to beg and for me to be on that team. And so I got that opportunity. But then going into 16, it was, once again, it was Robbie Raynard was the biggest dude about that because they were supposed to sign Jimmy Dakotas in 16, Cycle Trader was. And then that fell through at literally the last minute, and he signed with Geico. That was a last minute thing too. And so for me, I'm just like, okay, like I have to get that ride. I was like, Robbie, call whoever you got to call. I'll talk to anybody. I need that bike. And then once I knew that opportunity was there, and he called and begged and pleaded and, you know, told Christina I could do it and just like give him a shot. And then finally they signed me at the end of November. And luckily for me, there was a Yamaha already there. I was riding Robbie's 450 at the time, but there was a Yamaha 250 that I just hopped on and started riding. And started riding that at the end of November and came to California 1st of December and, you know, raced West Coast Supercross in January. So it was very last minute, but I didn't care. I was just like, I'll go make it happen. I don't give a shit how last minute it is. I need that bike. Give me that opportunity and we'll go make the most of it. And luckily I was able to do just that. So that was a cool thing, weird kind of how it all got put together, but I'm just blessed that it actually came together the way it did, and I could show my potential. That's all I really needed, you know.
What well, I want to get to that cycle trader thing in a sec, but what was the Costa Rica experience like? Because I mean, dude, you got Trey doing his thing, HRC, fucking G. You got Bogle doing his thing, and you're getting smoked in arena cross, and then on a plane to Costa Rica. Like, what the fuck did you think about your career at that point?
I honestly had no idea what to think about it. I was just like, this is fucking weird, but I mean, they're going to pay me a little bit of money to go, so why not, I guess? You know, I didn't have anything else to do.
What was it worth? Like, what's a bit of money at that point?
Well, that's kind of how it happened. So that last round of arena cross was Salt Lake. And the year prior in 2013, they took Tyler Bowers and Zach Ames to Costa Rica. And I guess Ames didn't do as well as they wanted him to. Like Bowers actually won the title in 13. And so they came to me in 14. Actually, my buddy, a good buddy of mine now, Casey Huntley, he was the one in charge of like getting people down there. He was the American guy that was bringing everyone down there. And he comes to me at Salt Lake and he's like, yo, like, yeah, like, are you interested in racing in Costa Rica? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, sure, I guess. Like, I ain't got nothing else to do. And he was like, all right, well, we're going to go to the first race in 2 weeks. So if you want to go, I need to know, like, tonight. And I'm like, okay, sure, sign me up. And he was like, we'll pay you $500. And I'm like, all right, like, say less. I'm making no money, so sure, like, I'll do whatever. So I go down there, dude. The bike is busted, dude. Like, there is rust everywhere. Like, dude, the seats hanging on by a thread. Like, it was a shit show. But I show up down there because like they didn't know I was coming. It was kind of last minute, and they paid me $500. I went and won the first race, which was kind of cool because I beat Bowers, who had just kicked my ass all winter. So whenever I beat him, I was like, oh, okay, like, oh, I know it's outdoors, it's a different ball game, but at least I won the race. That's kind of cool. So after I did that, they were like, okay, we'll pay you $1,000 to come down next time and run the whole series if you want. And it was like a 9-race series. And dude, I had no plans. Like, obviously, once Arena Cross was done, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do during the summer. So it just was perfect harmony. Like, it came together. It was an amazing experience. Like, I got to go down there with, Bowers and all these dudes that I was friends with anyway. And, dude, like, I got to go race
it's a dope country, huh?
Dude, unreal. Like, dude, it was like we were on vacation and we just rode a little bit on Sunday, you know? So it was honestly one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Like, not a whole lot of people can say they've done that. And dude, I was honestly just pumped I got to do it. Like, it was such a cool deal. And I was able to go down there, and I went down there like 9 times, I think, won the title that year. And it was just, man, it was cool. Like, I know it was a Costa Rican title, but for me, I was like, shit, I ain't won anything in so long. Like, this is incredible. You know, I was so pumped on it. So, that was a pretty cool thing. And then I had people that came down there too, like Nick Way. And at the time, his mechanic was, Big Nasty, and he was wrenching for Way in 2014. And both of those dudes came down at the end of the year because Nasty was our mechanic and Nick was racing too. And that honestly helped me too, because Nick came down, he was like, dude, you're sick. Like, you're actually fast as hell. And because I raced him each weekend. And that was another thing that kind of helped. You know, like, he was coming back home, like, telling people, like, dude, Nichols is sick, you know, like, and all this shit. So that was a really cool thing for me too. And I was able to use some money that I won over the first few races, and that's how I bought my bike back at home. I went and bought a Cowie from a dealership, and had a 450 to ride during the week, because obviously at the time I didn't have a bike. So yeah, that kind of kept me afloat, and that kept me moving, maybe opened some doors that maybe wouldn't have been there before. And that was just, man, it was a badass experience. I can't say enough about those people. It was really, really cool to go do that, for sure.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. I mean, that kind of brings me to something I wanted to get your perspective on, because it seems like the dudes that are winning the titles, so like yourself, got smoked in arena cross, a Costa Rican title revived your career. Then you've got Justin Cooper, went to, did high school all the way. I mean, he probably had a more traditional route than you did. You've got Coop, that's now a 2-time champ, that was literally getting smoked by AC for his entire career. Like, yeah, Coop had rides at every step of the way, but he got like worked, man, for like basically his whole life. And it's like, this amateur system that we've got is so, well, okay, I'm gonna throw another one in there. Jet and Hunter Lawrence. Like, dude, Hunter Lawrence just shoveled shit in Europe on like the biggest fucking piece of shit bike at the, world championships, just to like try and make it happen. And then Jet is just like riding around on whatever Hunter's on. And then, you can see what those two are doing now. It's like, is this perfect mold, or like the way that we're trying to groom these champions? Are we trying to make these like perfect sculptures when we really should be kind of like letting nature take its course almost, like where do you land on that?
Yeah, my opinion will probably differ from a lot of people, just because of the way I came through it, like the amateur scene anyway. Like,
but you a champ now, baby, so you can talk that shit. Yeah,
exactly. But for me, like, it was, I always just thought, man, like, they got better bikes than me. They're whatever. They're this, they're that, whatever, which was probably true. But at the same time, like, I could have went and done it if I was just better, but I wasn't. But it's kind of a catch-22, because like I said earlier, you have this new, like, crop of kids that are sick, and the sport is getting younger. So, like, like, even me, like, Nick Romano started training with us when he was 14 or 15. Like, the kid was so young.
Yeah.
And yet he's doing the same program that I'm doing, a 26-year-old kid, like, trying to make it happen still. And for me, that's crazy to think about, but I'm like, okay, like, this is obviously a ginormous head start for a kid like this. All the amateur kids that have come through the Star system is, like, it's huge, but it's a great thing. But at the same time, dude, I think it's horrible in a sense, because you have some guys, like, that get factory rides, like, straight out of amateurs or whatever the case may be, and they're on a team for a year, maybe 2, and if they shit the bed, they're out, dude. Like, you never see them again. You're just like, how is that possible? But that goes to the old thing of, like, maybe you needed to wait a minute, like, these kids are still kids. Like, they're just getting on big bikes now. A lot of them get signed when they're on 80s or super minis or whatever. And to me, that's ridiculous, dude. Like, for me, I was a diamond in the rough. I was in the rough, though, like the big rough. So, like, it was obviously a lot harder to spot.
You were almost out of bounds.
Yeah, literally. But for a dude like Justin Cooper, even, he didn't get his ride till I think his A year of amateurs, and dude, he didn't really ever win anything as amateurs, 60s, 80s, all that stuff. Like, the kid was good, obviously, but then all of a sudden he just starts dominating and just won everything in the B class. And you're like, who the hell is this kid? Like, he's sick. He's figured it out. And sometimes I think you need that. Like, I think they sign the kids a touch too early before you can really see who they are, because these kids need to develop, dude. They're still kids. They're boys. Like, they need to get a little older, like, figure out if this is exactly what they want to do, or if it's just what their parents want them to do, or Just how they progress as racers, how they grow up as men, like the influences that are around them, like who these people are, like I think is huge. And dude, I think it's so overlooked. Like luckily with this team with Star, I feel like they've done a really great job of really going a little deeper to find out who these kids are. But man, I think it's tough when you sign kids that early. Like, dude, it's just, I feel like it's so hard because you never know. I mean, like even a dude like, I use Cincerello for an example because he was the hope, like he was Cowie's hope. Like they signed him from such an early age. And I mean, I'm not trying to
dumped cash.
Yeah, a lot of cash. And I would never, try to like bag Adam because, dude, he is such a good guy. And I love Adam. I'm a huge Cincerello fan. But if you were, whenever he was 12, 13 or whatever, like looking at his future, you would have thought he had won 10 titles, like multi-time champ, doing all this stuff. And dude, the guy has accomplished a lot. Like I said, I'm not bagging him at all. But if you're Cowie, you had to expect like, dude, I mean, the first year he's leading the points, like he won all these races, he did all this stuff, and then you get riddled with injuries and things happen, and that's not on anybody. That's just part of the sport. It's just the way it works. But whenever you dump everything into one hope, thinking it's gonna work, like, dude, it doesn't always work. Like it's tough. Like this sport will, chew you up and spit you out quick, and no matter what, no matter how sick you are, like it's just the way it is. But that's a true testament to Adam. He just kept going, just kept digging, and then won that outdoor title, and now riding for Factory Cowie, like the dude's doing it. So just mad respect to him because he was in it too. Like he was pretty deep in the dumps. But yeah, the amateur system is tough, man. I wish it could be a little more even landscape for people to really show their potential. I mean, even me, like if I was going up to the line and I got a busted ass Cowie or whatever the bike I'm riding, and I look over and I see Romano on a Star Racing Yamaha, I'm just like, fuck, I'm instantly beat by that guy, So that's probably the attitude a lot of these kids have, but that kind of sucks too, because then you don't really see that potential that much. And that's not a bag on any of our kids either. It's just they were in a good spot, and that's the way the sport is at the time. So I can't take anything away from those guys, but it's just a weird spot, man. The amateur scene's tough. Like I almost feel like there should be a little more maybe regulation to kind of handle things. I don't really know what the right answer is, but yeah, it's that's kind of a weird landscape to try to figure that one out for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a weird model, man. Like it's a super, super broken model, and pretty much like what you said straight up about, like you get 2 years and that's it. So it's like you work 15 years of your life, your parents put in everything, these companies pump in like bulk cash to a young kid's career, and then it's like you do 2 years and then you don't do good. Okay, cool. Well, you're not on the team now because we've already got these 10 other kids in the AMs, and then it's like there's no preparation. Like you've just been literally given everything your entire, like Carson Mumford, perfect example this year. You know what I mean? Like he struggled, and it's like that dude's a great rider. He's a great kid. He's a great rider, but it's like you've had everything your entire life, and then they like take that away, and it's like, okay, you've got 3 months now to figure out how to race motocross alone. You've never had to race motocross alone before, but here it is. But it's like, I feel like in your case, man, you've seen everything. You've done arena cross, you've gone to Costa Rica, you've had rides, you've had shit boxes, you've bought your own bikes, you've borrowed people's bikes. Like this whole, it's kind of like what we were talking about before, like you're a gangster dude. You've proved now that you can stick it out. You've proved you've been through these tough times. Like there's all of this extra character development that's going on in your life as a result of you not being a part of the system.
Yeah, I mean, because the system is tough to even get involved in the first place. So, like, when you're not, dude, it's such a knock because, like, I mean, even me, like, obviously I was down in the dumps, and the only reason why it works is because I had good people around me. Like kind of what I was saying earlier, that kind of literally just kept me going. But, dude, some of these kids don't have that, and they have all the talent and skill in the world. And I'm just like, it's so hard to say because who knows? Maybe they would go shit the bed too. I have no idea. But for me, looking at it from the perspective I have is a lot different than a lot of guys. I mean, my whole career, I raced against Zach Bell, who kicked my ass every time, no questions asked.
He's
I never beat him.
Great example.
Dude, he crushed it. Like, he won everything there was to win. And then he moves up to big bikes, gets a Geico ride, does all the stuff, and he didn't produce like they wanted him to. See you later. Like, okay. Like maybe if you guys like would have tried to, maybe assess that situation a little better, maybe it would have been different, but it wasn't. And that's just the way it works sometimes. Like even Matt Bisceglia, same thing. He came through that program and had a few years,
Horizon
didn't really
Award
do
winner.
what they wanted. Yeah, see you later. So it's tough because it doesn't always go that way, but sometimes it does, and that's just what I mean by the sport. You never know who's going to produce at the level you need them to produce. I mean, people just go about it such different ways, and mine's probably on the extreme side of it, but I mean, even a Zach Osborne, like, see you later. He went to MXGP at nothing. He comes back. He just, he was a fighter, and the dude comes back and wins a lot. And he's a 450 outdoor champ. I never would have thought that coming out of amateurs when Osborne had nothing. He goes MXGP, and I'm like, we'll never see this dude again. And he comes back, and dude's won like 4 titles. So, I mean, you just never know. It all is in the character of the person, I think, what kind of guy you are, and how you respond to some adversity, because everyone's going to face it. So that's a big part of it too. But yeah, man, that system is really tough. To me personally, I wish you could go through an amateur to where these teams can't sign kids and give them this equipment and do anything with anybody. Like, yeah, you can help them get to the race and do whatever. I think that's a huge part of it. But as far as equipment and a level playing field, I think that shouldn't be until after your B year. Because most of these kids are so young now when they're racing the intermediate class. It's like, dude, like, give them that year, make everything as equal as you can get it. Like, even playing field. Let's see who's going to rise to the top, and then you kind of see the true character of these kids. Like they're faced with some stuff, and then you can make your decision. Like, okay, we want to sign them to a 1-year pro deal, then take them to pros. Like, to me, that's realistic, because then you can see them. Like, the kid's a little older, they get it, but they're probably 15, 16, 17, whatever. Then I feel like you can really assess them. But dude, when they're 12, like, you can't tell me you really know what a kid's going to be like when they're like 12 or 13. You just don't. Like, I mean, they're still boys. So that's where I think it gets a little flawed, when they do it that young. But for me, if you could do it that way, seems like the most realistic, best way to do it, but it's just not done that way, unfortunately. But who knows? Maybe that'll change in the future. But for now, yeah, the system is it's a system. That's for sure. It's different.
Yeah. And so what do you think about, I personally, so there's been a couple things that I've spoken about recently in terms of the sport. So I think that the Cameron McAdoo crash at Atlanta 1 kind of, to me, I was like, okay, bing, there's some red flags here. One was the fact that you can crash and be the cause of a red flag and then restart the race. Like, not to take away, the ride that we saw from McAdoo was one of the most, like, dope, heroic things I've ever seen in motocross. I was like, holy fuck, bro, you just cemented G status in one night for the rest of your career. So on, like, that hand, I'm like, that's so dope. On the next hand, I'm like, you probably shouldn't have been allowed to ride, bro. You were knocked out. Like, when your body goes limp the way that he did, you're out. And then it's like, so there's probably an issue there. And then there's probably an issue with the fact that you caused a red flag, restarted the race, have the ability, like the points, in theory, you could go out, crash with 2 whoops to go, lay on the track underneath your bike, like, cause a restart, and then hobble away and, like, hobble your way to the start line, get the whole shot, win the... So there's some, like, kind of weird shit going on there. But I think it sort of speaks, like, just that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish what you had to say.
I think it speaks to, like, a few kind of holes in the system. It's like, it sort of shows the pressure, like it's a 7-race series for the lights class. So it's like, you just literally can't drop a race. Like, McAdoo could have had a lot of shit busted and he still would have had to go out and do that race to keep his championship alive. Respect, again, not taken away from him. But it's like, damn, if a dude's hit his head like that, and then we kind of saw the results of it, like, a couple weeks later, like, he wasn't right. Like, there was a lot of crashes that went down after that. So to me, I'm like, okay, maybe we need to look at, and then, the fact that there's like 4 of you dudes on the east, and then there's a few dudes on the west that kind of rise above, and then everyone else is kind of like a ways back. So it's like, do we need to just change this whole landscape where the lights class does every race, and you've got the east and the west together, and then we go to some kind of like point system where you can like drop your worst result at the, like before the last round they tally the points, but the worst result gets dropped. So like, let's say you go out and knock your head bad, and it's like, yeah, you could race, but it's not safe for you to do that. If you take another impact to the head, the second impact, you know, like there's some real health problems there. So it's like, we do the drop a race thing. We take away that where it's like, okay, you're fucked though now because you can't DNF, you can't have a bike, you can't have another crash. Like, this is your only mulligan, but you're safe. You can sit this night out, you can rest, you can do the proper protocols, and the pressure's not there for the team, for the series, for all that sort of stuff. And then you've got, that would only work if the East and West ran the whole series together. And then it's like, then you've got that class there, because the lights class isn't a development class anymore. Like, you guys are full blown, like as legit as anybody that's on the track. And then maybe do we run, instead of the lights class being East West, do we run like a development class where, you know, you have to, it's like 16 to 18. And then you're in that development class. It's like you only run half the coast, it's shorter mains, and then like, you know, you kind of mess with the night program. So it's like pretty much just racing. Like the qualies are done, or you don't see, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's room now to like, let's mess with this a bit so that it's like, A, it's safer. B, we're not having kids turn pro at 16 and then feel like this crazy pressure because it's a 7-round series. I mean, you can make all the arguments about like, well, that's fucking what we want to see, bro. We want to see the best, bro. Like, you know, you can kind of have that attitude. Or it's like, you could think about it as like, man, we could take some big pressure off the amateurs. We could make it a lot safer if you do have one of those nights where you hit your head. So I don't know. I just feel like, and as a guy now that's like raced for so long, raced so many places, had the I guess the backstory to get to this point, it's like, I'd be interested for your perspective on those kind of ideas to make things better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the, you know, the right answer, I think, to try to do it all. But, I mean, from my perspective, seeing, you know, even what we saw with Cameron, that was unfortunate just because it's like, you know, that dude's probably not right at the time. You know, like he's probably fumbling around. He's still trying to gather his shit. Like he doesn't even know where he's at probably. Like, you know, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't knocked out. To me, it looked like he definitely was a little limp for a second. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know what this situation was. But it is a lot of pressure when it's just a 7 to 9 race series. That's what makes it tough. You can't have those drops. Like for a guy like me, I don't want that. You know, like I had 9 solid races. That's why I won the title. So for me, I look at it and I'm like, okay, consistency won. And, you know, sometimes maybe I wasn't the fastest, but a lot of times I was, you know, and I was able to win those races. So it's kind of a catch-22. Like you can look at it both ways. Like a lot of seasons I wish I would have had that mulligan, you know, where I could have dropped that race and just been like, man, I would have been way better off without that one, you know. So it really just depends on the spot you're at. But, you know, the lights being together and, you know, doing some stuff like that, it's, I don't know, man, like it's definitely not like what you're saying. It's not a developmental class anymore. I feel like, you know, we're doing everything about as good as you can do it. And that stems just from these kids getting started at such a younger age with trainers and being around fast guys and, you know, doing all that stuff and being able to see it firsthand. Like even a dude like Nate Thrasher, like dude came through, rode with us every day, you know, like he did all the stuff and he went and won 2 races. You know what I mean? Like the dude's good. He's ready. Yeah. But, you know, sometimes these kids aren't, you know, when they're 16 or 17 and they need those years. Like for me, I needed to mature. I wasn't a man yet. You know, I couldn't do shit on my own. So I needed those extra years. And that's why the Arena Cross and the Costa Rica were so crucial for me at the time, because I needed that. Some kids don't. It just depends on the kid. But that's where I think that system, it definitely could be changed. I don't know what the right answer is. Like, I don't know if doing 17 rounds, lights, East and West together is the move. Like, I don't know. You know, maybe that would be sick and maybe it would work really, really well. I don't know until, you know, we try it. But, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be different. But for now, it's just the way Supercross works. It's the way it's been since the fucking 70s. You know, it's the same thing. So I'm sure in the future it'll start to progress just like anything else. Like the young kids come in, new ideas, you know, new management, new kind of everything. And that takes you a certain direction. But man, it's been the same people in the same positions for so long as far as who runs Supercross, who makes the decisions, who does all the stuff, that it's not going to change, you know, until that does. So, I'm not even saying it needs to, you know, I don't know. Maybe it would be better, you know, if we ran everything together. But, you know, kind of going back to the health thing too, like the head is scary. That's the one thing I feel like that is very, you know, not really shown enough in our sport is like, dude, like you hit your head, it sucks. I mean, you hear about all these football players that do nothing but just mash their heads all the time, you know, and they're suffering from whatever that brain disease is. I can't even remember, but
CTE.
Yeah. All these dudes are suffering from that. Once they retire, you know, it's messing with their emotions, or they can't even function as humans anymore. And dude, that's scary. And us, like we wear crash helmets. You know, it's like Formula One drivers. Any of these dudes that you put on a crash helmet to do your job, like it's scary. You know, and that risk of hitting your head is something else. You know, like you hit your head, you only get one of those. You can't really replace it. You break your arm, it'll heal. You know, like that shit will go back together. Take off, you're good to go. So. That I think definitely needs to be a little more strict, and there needs to be a little more understanding, a little more knowledge about that. But yeah, as far as the series go, man, I'm not real sure. I don't know what that magic thing is to make it and to take it to another level, you know, to draw in more sponsors and, you know, maybe be just a bigger sport in general, because that's all I want to see. I want to see the sport progress. I want to try to lead it if I can, and get it to a point where it's like that. But I don't know what that magic thing is. You know, maybe that would be it, but I think it'd be kind of cool. I mean, especially now that kids are getting started so young. Like you got to do like a Hayden Deegan. You know, he's got to practice a Supercross practice track in his backyard. Like, kid's gonna be prepared by the time he comes to race Supercross. Like he will be ready for what he's about to face. You know, and a lot of other kids don't have that. You know, so it really just depends on the situation. But I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea, really. I don't know if it would work or not. But I mean, hell, might as well try and see if it does.
Yeah, the head thing's gnarly, man, because like I don't think we've really seen like the full effects of, you know, like the NFL. We've got like old dudes now. Like we have a sample group in the NFL to be like, okay, CTE's real. OJ probably fucking killed his wife because of it. Yeah. You know, like there's been dudes like, there was a guy who played for the San Diego Chargers, and fuck, I'm spacing on his name, dude. He drove his car off a cliff and like had a letter that said like, donate my brain to CTE medical research. He's like one of the Chargers all-time greats, dude. Killed himself and said like, I can't live like this. My brain is not okay. Like I'm not right. He was like, there was some big time behavioral problems that this guy had. Yeah. And the problem is like, while the brain is alive and functioning, you can't do the CTE scans and tests and actually see the level of trauma that your brain's got. It's only post-mortem that you can actually identify CTE. So yeah, this dude killed himself and donated his brain. So that's how real of a thing this is. And I think that, you know, you look at Dave Mirra was probably the first gnarly case of like, that's probably some head injury stuff that's going on here. So yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those things where moto cannot put its head in the sand. Like, dude, I haven't rode in 2 weeks because I got a fucking concussion. I suck. Like, I'm not that good at riding. And it's like everyone that rides really needs to, it can happen to anybody, you know? Like, I just washed the front coming into a turn, slapped real quick, and I was fucking out, you know? Like, it was not a good deal. And now I give myself a lot of time. You know, like that week, man, I struggled so bad. I couldn't look at screens and, you know, shit like that. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that we've kind of got our head in the sand a tiny bit with it. And I think that it's definitely something that we should take serious. But also, what a fucking ad for Moto 10 with Cameron McAdoo, dude.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, incredible. Right? But I mean, they are making strides. I think like we're doing things like from a helmet side of things to get it better and try to help and do all this stuff. Like we're making strides for sure. You know, with I think Bell's, you know, a good main catalyst for all that. Like they're really doing their homework to try to fix it. But it's just, man, if you hit your head or you break your arm, you go to a doctor, he's like, 6 to 8 weeks for it to heal. And you can see it, you know, like you can see the bone healing, and then you go back in 6 or 8 weeks and you see it's fully together and you know you're okay. Like your brain, you can't do that. Like, you don't know. Like, I mean, you take some time off, and then the way you do it is, you know, the old way of doing it is like, okay, get your heart rate up, go on a bike ride, go on a run, do something. If you get dizzy, you're not ready yet. You know, it's just like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something to where you can have a timeline better or just something. And, dude, it's honestly crazy. Like, it's pretty overlooked. And then it kind of sucks, too, because as dirt bike racers, you know, we're supposed to be tough as nails, right? So you hit your head, you do all this shit or whatever, you want to get back in the saddle, you want to go again, and you don't want to feel like a pussy. So you're like, yeah, I'll go out and race. Like, I'll do whatever I got to do. Is it the safest thing? No. Like, dude, so many times you should definitely take more time off than you do, but you feel kind of forced to do it because you're just like, okay, well, I don't want to look like a bitch, so I'm going to go. And that's not the best way to go about doing things because, man, the brain's nothing to play with. It's a tough thing. And, man, it sucks. Guys hit their head and, we just don't know enough about it yet. I mean, I just watched that thing on Netflix about Aaron Hernandez, and he had this crazy, CTE, and it was just, dude,
he's probably another one.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, they're showing his brain afterwards, and they're like, this is what a normal brain should look like, and here's his. And, dude, it's insane, like, how different it looks. And you don't know how much that affects emotion, like the way you go about your life, how you think about things, like how you're going to react to certain situations. Like, that all plays into that. And, man, it's honestly mind-blowing. Like, the first time I watched that, because it came out a few years ago, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, that was the first time I really knew CTE, like, was that big of a thing. And I'm like, wow, dude. So I immediately did some research on it, and I'm looking all this stuff up, and I'm just like, damn, like, it's a bigger deal than I thought it was. So, and then it made me think, like, okay, well, I've hit my head. I mean, everyone that races has, So I think it's just, we need more knowledge about it. We need to figure out how to handle it a little better. But it's tough, man. It's just, I don't know how to go about doing it better, but someone needs to, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, can I take a piss break real quick?
Go ahead, yeah. You're good. Had to have one.
It ain't easy being hydrated, bro.
No, it sure ain't. I feel a little dehydrated, dude. Outdoors hits different. Jesus Christ. My lower back is shot. I'm just like, fuck. It's a little different.
So I wanted to talk a bit about Star Racing Yamaha. So you said you're like, dude, I just want to get on that cycle trader bike because Yamaha figured something out with that 250. That thing is bullshit good. Like, for a stock bike, there's probably not a better stock motorcycle than a YZ 250F. So, like, was that a factor in that wanting to be at Cycle Trader? Like, did you know, was it just that team, or was it that bike in particular where you're like, I got to be on that particular stock base package?
Yeah, it was just that bike in particular, 100%. Like, I had, friends that trained at Robbie's that had Yamahas, and obviously at the time I didn't have a bike, so I would just kind of ride whatever somebody would let me ride for the day. And I rode the Yamaha 250, and I'm like, holy hell, like, I just spent 2015 on this Crossland Honda, and I ride the stock bike, and it's just unbelievable. I was like, I can't believe how good it is. So for me, once I realized like how sick it was,
2015 Honda to that Yamaha,
yeah, I was like, holy shit. So, and then obviously the success the team had at the time, like my buddy Coop was on it, they were crushing it, he was winning things left and right. They seemed like that new bike ever since they got away from the carbureted Yamaha and they went to this bike. It was unreal. Like, they just started winning everything. So I was like, there's got to be something there. And, whenever I did the Cycle Trader thing, that was always the goal. Like, that was going to be the stepping stone to try to get to Star. I mean, and how I got that ride was I was out here in California living with Justin, and that year on Cycle Trader, because I did West Coast, and anytime I heard they were going to Milestone, I went to Milestone. Like, and I hopped in behind them every time. I hopped in front of them. I did whatever I had to do just to be like, dude, this kid's annoying, but I just wanted to get in the way. Like, I'm sure they were probably pissed, but dude, I was like, I got to go prove my point somehow that I can ride this bike and I want to be on this team. And that's literally how it happened.
Sick.
Dude, like, Gareth Swanepoel obviously was training all those guys at the time, AP, Coop, and dude, one day in particular, I was just feeling it at Milestone, and dude, I got in front of those dudes and I just walked away from them, like Coop, everybody. And that was literally that day. Gareth told me, he called Bobby on the phone and was like, dude, we got to sign this kid. Like, dude's sick. Like, he just waxed all of our dudes at Milestone. And I was a Milestone assassin because that's the only track I could ride. Like, I couldn't go to Yamaha at the time. So I was there every day. And anytime they went anywhere else, I followed them. And I just constantly was doing that. And they probably hated it. But that's literally how that happened. That's how it came together. I was just that guy. And it happened to work out that way. But yeah, that bike is unreal. Yeah. That's literally how it happened. It's pretty funny. Like, when Swanee told me that, I was like, wow, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. I didn't think it would, but that's pretty funny.
Dude, that's some legit G shit right there.
Yeah, I just got to do what you got to do sometimes. Not the best way to do it, but At the time, I just thought that was the only way I could do it. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to get in behind those dudes. And I kind of, obviously I was friends with Coop, so I used that as my in a little bit. And I was just like, yo, where y'all going today? And he was like, oh, we're going to Milestone. I'm like, all right, I'll see you there. I'll hop in behind you too.
That's
you know?
so
Try to
rad.
give you some smoke or do whatever I can do, you know, just to try to get some attention of somebody. And luckily it worked.
Dude, that's insane. I had no idea. Like, man, there was always those guys that were like pull in front of the boys at the track, and you're just like, fuck off, bro.
Yeah, literally just hate them. And that's why I really didn't want to be that guy. I really didn't. But I was like, dude, I got to do something. Like, I don't want to be annoying. And I never really did anything too crazy where I just hop in right in front of them or whatever. But they would go by in a freight train, you know, because they all train together. And I'm just starting my moto, and I'm hopping in right behind them. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just get as close as I can to them, see what happens. And, you know, that's how I got the attention. And then, like I said, I had Coop as a little bit of an in there, you know, to try to figure out where they were going so I could follow them around. But that was literally how it happened. And then I got second place at Oakland, the Cycle Trader year. And then right after that, the race was Saturday night, Sunday, Bobby called me. I was like, hey, dude, I heard you've been ripping at Milestone. Like, you just got on the podium. We want you to come ride for Star Racing. And in that moment, I was like, holy shit, it worked. I was like, I could not believe that worked. Like, honestly, couldn't believe it. And then the first time I talked to Swanee on the phone, and, you know, he was going to be my trainer for the next year because obviously he trained all the dudes. And he was telling me that story, and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I was like, I literally hoped that would happen. I cannot believe it worked that way. Like, that's incredible. Like, it was honestly one of those moments where I was like, it worked. You know, I cannot believe it worked that way, but it did.
Dude, I'm tripping. Like, that's an insanely
wild.
Cool story, man. Like, you don't hear that much.
No, it was wild. Because I kind of halfway tried to do that before. Crossing Honda days. We came out here and rode a little bit, but I just wasn't ready to do that yet. You know, I didn't have enough Supercross experience. I wasn't at a point that I needed to do that yet. And then once I got on the Cycle Trader bike and I felt fast and good, and I knew I was good at that point. You know, I felt like I'd done what I needed to do, and I'd put in the work, and I knew I was going fast. So I was like, okay, let's do it now. Like, what better time to do it than right now? That's the team I want to be on, so I'm just going to go out there and try to annoy these guys until they give me a ride. And that's literally exactly what happened. That podium obviously was the thing that kind of set it off, but before that, I was definitely trying to make my point as much as I could. And I got on the podium, and that's exactly what I needed. That was the big breakthrough. That's what we needed to actually get on the team. So it was kind of a cool story looking back on it now, the way it played out to get to where I'm at, for sure.
Man, yeah, that's insane. And so what was the phone call like from Bobby Reagan? Like, do you remember the way that you felt, and do you remember how the conversation went down, and like the emotions that, because like that's the phone call, dude. That's the one that you need to have.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one. That's the only one I care. That's the one I wanted. You know, I'm like, I need Bobby Reagan to call me. And that Sunday, he was the first one to actually call me. And then that Monday or Tuesday, you know, I got a call from Tyler Keefe and you know, from a handful of these other teams trying to do something. And my mind was made up. You know, in 2015, you know, what team I was going to. I didn't care about the money. I mean, it was going to be cool, but I wasn't going to go somewhere else over $50,000. I was like, I don't care. I just want that bike. And then after that, we'll figure it out. But yeah, when Bobby called me, man, he was he's a pretty straightforward dude. Like, you never are wondering where his head's at. He's going to tell you. And I respect the hell out of that. Yeah. And I didn't really know him obviously before, but whenever he called me, he straight up was just like, listen, we want you to ride for this team. I feel like you're a damn good Supercross rider. We want to go see if you can give us a title. You know, and we're going to make this thing happen. And he was so confident in the fact that I was going to ride for that team and I was going to win and I was going to do all this shit that I didn't question it. I was just like, yeah, 100%. Let's go. Like, I'll be there tomorrow, you know, like, let's sign the bitch and let's go. And that's literally what happened. We negotiated a little bit, and, you know, because I did have some other teams that were interested, but like I said, my mind was pretty made up from the get-go. And once I signed with a team, it was pretty like, wow, you know. And my dad was obviously losing it. He was like, dude, you made it. I'm like, well, we didn't make it, but I mean, this is the first step in getting to where we want to go, you know, like being on a factory team is a sick. So that was a big moment for me. And that phone call with Bobby was something I'll probably never forget, you know, just how he was so confident in the fact that I was going to come to this team and I was going to train with this guy, and the bike is so good and the program's so sick that I'm going to go make it happen. And I'm just like, let's go. Like, I'm ready for whatever. Let's give it a shot, you know? And that was a pretty damn cool feeling.
Man, I can't even imagine. That's so cool. Like, and to just like to know that you deserve something when you get it. Like, I've gotten cool shit before where I'm like, that's fucking cool, but like I kind of got lucky like that I got given that. But when you get something that you really earn, you're like, I fucking deserve this, bro. Like, that's a cool feeling.
Yeah, it was, man. It was just one of those things where I was just like, Jesus Christ, finally. You know, like I thought this was going to happen 5 years ago, you know, and it didn't. But whenever I did get that phone call and I finally signed that contract and sent it back, I was like, God damn, like that is huge. Like I needed that for so long. I worked my ass off to get that. I had to go to Costa Rica. I did arena cross. Like I did all this shit, and it was for this. It was for this whole thing. I mean, this was the plan from the get-go, you know. And the fact that it happened like that, I just was. I was in awe for a while. I really was. Like the rest of the Supercross season, I was riding on a high. I was like, no one can touch me. Like I might go get fourth tonight, but I'm signing with Star Racing, and I'm gonna be there next year. I don't care. Like this is sick. So, it was just, man, it was incredible. It was in a sense sad. You know, I had to leave Robbie and a guy I'd been with for years, and a guy that really took me through the trenches to get to that point. And, you know, then I'd, you know, go train with Swanee and do all this stuff. But he was genuinely happy for me. You know, that's how you know you got good people around you, where he wasn't like salty. He was just like, man, you know, if it's going to take you to the next level, I want you to do it. You know, I want you to go do that, you know, and go try to chase this dream. And man, that was just a kudos to him, because he could have been salty about it. You know, he got me to that point, and dude, I was eating his food and living in his house for free, and like we couldn't pay him to be at a training facility, you know, like most of these kids can. But he was just like, dude, I'll do whatever I can for you. Like, come live in my house. Like, you know, we'll pay for the groceries. I didn't buy shit when I was there. I couldn't. I had no money, you know. So like he literally just had to dad me around. Like him and his wife Ashley were essentially my second parents, and did everything they could for me. And then when it was time, you know, I had to leave, and he was genuinely happy for me, which was pretty cool. You know, it was sad at the same time, but it was a cool thing that it happened that way, and I got to go be on Star and try to make it happen.
That's so sick, dude. Man, when I was in America, I was fucking broke. Like, it's kind of ironic how this thing worked. Like, you're sitting like where I fucking used to live and was trying to make shit happen for so long, and then now I'm in Australia, like doing this, you know, podcast sort of where I was trying for so long to make shit happen. And then I was I was so fucking broke over there, and I had same shit, like never paid rent at fucking the houses I was at, because people were like trying to help me like pull the shit off, you know. And the fucking guilt that I felt, I'm sure being the dude that you are, like you would have felt the same thing of like the guilt of people just giving and giving and giving and giving, and you can't give anything back. Like, dude, that is the shittest feeling to live with.
Dude, it really is. And I was also too a little younger, you know, whenever I was with Robbie, and he was such a dad that not that I expected it, but it happened for so long that you don't realize it, you know. And then I left and I come to California and I'm by myself, you know. I'm out here trying to live the dream, if you will, you know, riding for a factory team, doing all this shit, and I don't know anybody. So like when you realize you're not around people that really, really have your best intention is when you're just like, holy shit, you know, like you take that for granted. And I really did, you know, because afterwards, man, I came back to visit Robbie's for the first time after leaving, you know, that year, and I was just like, bro, I'm sorry. Like, I was probably a fucking shithead kid. I didn't realize how much you were doing for me. And dude, I am so sorry. And just like, thank you. You know, like I didn't realize it at the time, but it was just such a big wake up call. You know, when I came out here, and you always think the grass is greener on the other side, and you go and you're just like, maybe isn't what you thought it was. But, and not a knock towards the team, because it was greener. Everything was amazing. You know, everything was awesome. But I had such good people around me. Yeah, I had such good people around me in Oklahoma that I just didn't realize it. I mean, I had everything I needed. You know, you just think, though, that, man, there's got to be better. It's got to be something better. And it's, you know, sometimes it's not. So, and that was huge. And even like this weekend, I pulled off the track. The first person I see is my mom. And I'm kind of crying. You know, when I see her, I just get a little emotional. And I'm just like, fuck, we did it, you know. And then I get myself together and I'm wiping my tears. I'm like, all right, quit being a bitch. You know, let's go up to the podium and handle business. And Ashley Raynard actually does the live announcing for Supercross. So she's the one that does live announcing for it. And so I see her, I get it. I see my mom, I get it together, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm fine. And then I walk over and I see Ashley and I just lost it again. Like I just got so emotional. I think just because she was there. I mean, obviously just like my parents were, like her and Robbie both. I mean, she used to cook dinner for me. I mean, she would wash my clothes. I mean, like she was there. And the fact that like when I saw her, I just, you know, I kind of lost it, and I was just like, man, this is surreal almost, you know, to think that was such a long shot whenever I lived with you guys, and, you know, I'm just kind of trying to figure life out, and, you know, to be in that spot and to see her there, and I got to share that emotion with her was pretty special. But yeah, it was just, it was crazy to think about it, that it happened that way for sure.
Yeah, man, I can so relate. Like the Reinenbergs, like the family that own the JDR team, and then like Wes Williams, dude, like Jeremy Malott, like there were some people that just had my back so fucking hard in America, and like kept me afloat. And right now, like I would not be talking to you, having this conversation, if it wasn't for those three groups of people. And dude, straight up, like I cannot do enough for them now, because I realized how much of a fucking loser I was. And it's like, the whole time I thought I was killing it. I'm like, fucking bitches. And I'm like, just doing all this shit over in America. I'm just like, I'm the fucking man. I'm killing it. And then you leave, and then you're like, wow, dude, I was literally a child that these people looked after for fucking years.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally exactly the way it was. I was such a little boy. I was very a little misconstrued and just naive to life in general. You know, I just thought that everything was just supposed to happen the way it was supposed to, and, you know, just super naive young kid, you know, just a little shithead kid. And yeah, I mean, it was just, to have those kind of people around me though, man, I'll forever be grateful for the whole Raynard family. Like, dude, Robbie's mom and dad, they were huge in helping me too. Like Robert had been there, done it with Robbie, you know, so he was big influence on my dad and how to handle situations and stuff like that. And man, they were just fucking good people, like just such good people, and just honestly blessed to have met them, and to be in the spot to where I can, you know, not that I'll ever be able to repay them, but just want them to know, you know, like how much I appreciated that, you know, and how much they mean to me, because they are like one of the most, you know, influential and people I care about the most is that whole family. So yeah, man, it was cool. They done a lot of good things for me, and I'll never ever forget any of that, all those times I had at Robbie's place, for sure. So every time I try to go back there once a year and just kind of catch up and bullshit. So I'm hoping I can do that this year after outdoors is over, go back home and relax. And they just had a kid not that long ago, so hang out with the little guy, and yeah, just kind of soak it all in with him a little bit.
It's crazy, man. Like, you know, you definitely can go through periods of your life where you don't realize that you ain't shit without the people around you, and that's just fucking dumb luck. You know, like to claim any of the success that you have in life just seems like so misguided, because fuck, dude, it's all luck. It's all you can get lucky with great people, you can get unlucky with bad people, and, you know, like, I think it's so cool to see like the way that you can sit there as a man that can like look back and just be like, yeah, fuck, dude, so lucky. Like, not put it all on yourself as like, I did this, I did this, I did this. It's just like, you have to get so lucky with these amazing people. Yeah,
I mean, because it's far from doing it yourself. You know, like everyone has to help you get somewhere. But man, I've come to realize too, kind of like what I used to say with, you know, the grass was greener on the other side, and I always just was chasing the one thing. You know, I wanted to be a factory rider. I wanted to win. I wanted to do all this stuff. And then now that you do it, you're just like, man, like, it's sick. But that big trophy I got is just going to sit there and collect dust. You know, it's just going to sit there and do nothing. Like the money I won, I'm going to spend it probably on something stupid. And it's just the way it's going to work. But the people that you do it with, and the people you care about, and the people you will carry your life with for the rest of your life, that's the important shit, you know. And you know, I had to become a man to kind of figure that out, you know, and the respect I have for people and how I try to carry myself and, you know, act around people and just everything. It's that's life. That's the important shit, you know, like not the cups, the trophies, the money, all that stuff. It's the people. So, you know, I've had some really good people in my life, you know, some bad too, but really, really blessed with the good people I've had in my life. And that's the most important shit, you know, family, friends, anyone I can try to share these experiences with that I really care about, that's the shit that's cool to me. So that made this weekend even more special, man. I had a lot of friends and family there. Got to share that with, and that was the coolest thing ever. You know, hug my mom and dad and just be like, damn, you know, like, can you believe this? You know, you're a young kid from Muskogee, Oklahoma, middle of nowhere, broke as shit. And we're here in Salt Lake, and, you know, I'm an East Coast champion. So that was really, really, really special. And, yeah, that's what makes life tick for me, at least. You know, that is the people, definitely.
It's so cool to know that at 27 too, you know. Like, there's a lot of people that you know, there's a lot of people that won't ever figure that shit out. You know, so the fact that you can do it at such a young age, man, is just huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's what kind of keeps you going. But for me, it was the times, though, where I wasn't going, you know, and I was just like, what in the hell? You know, and then you look back and you're like, who were those people that kind of kept you moving? And then you realize it. Then you're just like, oh, shit. You know, like, these are why you call family and friends. This is what's important, you know. And, yeah, I mean, that was almost kind of a crossroads, if you will. You know, like all those times where I was struggling down in the dumps. And then I look back on it now and I'm just like, damn, like, that is such a big, big deal. And, yeah, I mean, I'm young, but I'm old. And, you know, to realize those things at the age I am is cool. And just really opened you up to just be like, man, I can't wait to see what the future is. And as long as I got these people here that I care about and they're still in my corner, then we can take on the world. We can do whatever, you know, and whatever we try to do, we'll do it together and see what happens.
I fucking love that, dude. The Bobby Reagan, I've never met him, never spoke to him. He's a character that lives in the ether that dictates a lot of the shit that I watch on the weekends. But yeah. Moto's weird because you don't really, like, Mitch Payton, yeah, Roger DaCosta, yeah, but the whole, like, team manager organization, like in football, it's all you hear about, you know, like Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization, and, you know, you hear about this structure, and so many people credit success to this program and the structure, and we sort of, you know, you see that with PC. And then, you know, Geico's had their era, and now it's like this Star era. What is it about, like, Bobby Reagan and then that whole program? Like, why, in your opinion, as a dude that's won a championship with Star, why is it a championship churning out machine?
That is a great question, but also one that I asked before I signed with that team in 16. You know, like I said, I was still good buddies with Coop, and I called him. I'm like, yo, like, why do they win? Like, what makes this whole thing work? Like, granted, you got to have the riders. I mean, that's first and foremost. You got to have dudes that can go win. And then the way Coop explained it to me was, because I obviously hadn't spoken to Bobby yet either. And at the time, when I told him I wanted to be on Star, and he was like, dude, I'll tell you right now, if you want to win, come here. Like, any other team will tell you, yeah, we want to do this, but this sponsor is going to be pissed, or we got to do this for that sponsor, we got to do whatever. He was like, Bobby does not give a shit. Like, if he has to do something that's going to piss somebody off, but it'll help you or help the team win, he'll do it. No questions asked. Like, he'll do whatever it takes to win. And for me, like a guy that wanted to win, I look at that and I'm just like, damn, like, no one else has explained another team like that to me. Like, I've never heard that from any other team, any other organization, nothing. So whenever I heard that, I'm like, okay, that's different. And then you talk to Bobby, and, you know, he explains how things work. And you always can kind of look at Bobby and think, okay, maybe he's just the money guy behind the team, and he sits back and writes the checks and does whatever. But Bobby is so involved, and he knows everything that we do. I mean, top to bottom. I mean, that's why they have a team trainer. He talks to Swanee every day. He talks to Will multiple times a day. He talks to Brad Hoffman multiple times a day. Like, the dude is so involved in what we do. And he wants to have his thumb on everything, but it's because he cares so much. He just wants to go win, and he wants dudes that want to go win. So when you're not performing and not doing what you need to be doing, he'll certainly let you know. I mean, he's tried to fire me a few times for just because I was being shit. But, you know, once he gets to that point to where he feels like you can win and he knows that this team is going to help you do it, he will do whatever. I mean, and that's just the way it's been. Like, any time I needed something, they did not hesitate. They were just like, we'll do it. We don't care. You know, it'll make the bike faster. Who cares? Like, we're sponsored by this company, but this will be better. I mean, whatever. We'll do whatever we got to do. You know, like, we'll figure it out. And, dude, they are just that's the way it was at the beginning. You know, now everything's certainly a lot more structured and everything falls into place just the way it's supposed to, and we do everything by the book. But, you know, the way it was described to me was so intriguing. I was just like, wow. Like, I mean, from a guy that wants to win and that's been in the dumps, like, I'll do anything it takes to win too. So the fact that the team owner says that to you, it's just like, holy shit, like that seems like a winning combo to me, you know? So that's really, really what drew my attention there. And it wasn't just because Coop was there. Like he's a friend. He would have been honest with me about no matter what, you know? So the fact that he said that, I was just like, damn, you know, like that's mind blowing really. And that's solely where the attraction came to be on Star Racing. Yeah, the bike was sick, but the way he operated was how I wanted to do it 100%.
Damn, man, that's definitely cool to hear. And man, it's just in line. Like, if you're a dude that's in a position, so like I know Bobby Hewitt really well. So like, just even it was even personally, like my ex-girlfriend in America grew up with like his daughter, so I was kind of just even around them like in a full off track way. But I was just like so impressed with him as a person. Like when I'd hang out with him, he was just like old school Texas dude, works hard as fuck. He's a winner in every aspect of his life, you know? Like, he's a fucking winner in terms of like the way he raised his kids. He's a winner in terms of the way that he treats his wife. He's a winner in the way that he treats his kids and his business and then his team. And then he obviously won multiple championships. It's like, I looked at Bobby Hewitt as a guy like, that's a legit motherfucker that I want to be around. Not even on a racing front, but like as a mentor or like a guy in life to look at. It's like solid fucking dude. And I like I said, I don't know Bobby Reagan, but it's like I kind of get that same vibe with him, you know? It's like you just don't get to the position in life where you can fund a factory race team with 340 riders on it to, you know, if you're not a winner, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a sole believer in it. It starts from the top and then you work your way down. And dude, if Bobby wasn't like that, the team wouldn't be what it is. I mean, he's built it into what it is, you know, because he wanted that for so many years and he just kept doing his thing, you know, like he was like, we'll get there eventually, you know, and I'm a winner and that's what we do is we fucking win. And he says that all the time. Like, dude, I don't know how many meetings we go in and he's just like, we're going to win this race because we fucking win. That's what we do. And I'm just like, you damn right we do. You know, and then we go win the race. And it's just, I mean, that attitude stems from, like, that's your team owner telling you this. So then you have everyone else telling you that and you're like, okay, like, you know, it starts from there. So, I mean, he's tough as nails. Like, he is hard on you when he needs to be. But that kind of confidence coming from your team owner, I mean, it does something to you. You know, like that just hits you different. And, you know, from the get-go at the first round, I mean, he told me the same thing. He's like, you're going to go win this fucking championship. And I'm like, let's go. I'm like, I know I'm going to, you know, like that. And I needed that little bit of reassurance too. And, you know, the fact that he tells you it's pretty big deal. So that's just the way he operates. So that's the way he is. Been that way from day one.
That's cool, man. And that's the impression that I get because you can't do what he's done and built what he's built without, like, dude, Pastrana says it all the time. Winners fucking win, man.
It's just what they do. I mean, and it's exactly what he said about. I mean, I think it's a big testament to Bobby too. When you look at even the 450 program, you know, like you take a 450 program that it's the same guy. Like AP struggled, you know, for years, and then he comes over here, and you just have that confidence of just being like, Bobby Reagan's behind this thing. Like he's a fucking winner. That's what he does. That's all he does is win. And he's the one now that I have to take orders from, you know, like he's the guy. So you look at that and then AP just looks like a new man. You know, he's out there doing his thing. Granted, you know, they did a lot of work on the bike and did some stuff to make it better for sure. But I just think that has a lot to do with it, you know, like starting from the top and just having those people there that are that way and have that attitude just makes a huge, huge difference. And, you know, you see that in dudes like KTM too. Like how many of those dudes just, I mean, Roger DeCrosser, for Christ's sake, the dude just wins, you know, like it's all he does. He just wins. Yeah. So to have that starting from the top and kind of trickling its way down to the riders is, it's a big part of having a whole organization and program be successful. And, you know, I'm just lucky to be a part of one in Star Racing.
Well, dude, and now you think about it, bro, like you guys just signed Eli Tomac, like Supercross champion. He's won 3 million motocross championships. Like that speaks volumes to the kind of dude that Bobby Reagan obviously is, if a guy like Tomac is willing to go to that program.
Yeah, I honestly thought that was all bullshit for a long time. Because, like, they were, like, I'd heard, like, little rumors, you know, like, yeah, dude, Tomac's calling us. You know, like, he wants to ride for Star. I'm just like, yeah, they're probably blowing smoke, whatever. And then now to hear that that's, like, a real thing, I'm like, holy shit, like that's insane to me. You know, like I think it makes like Star even look a little different than people thought, you know, just like, wow, this dude wants to come here, you know, like I don't know exactly what the details are, really anything about it, but just the fact that he will be riding for Star Racing is mind blowing to me. You know, if you would have told me that before the season, I'd be like, never, you know, that would never happen. But yeah, I mean, they do the right shit. They say the right things. All they care about is winning races. And, you know, that speaks volumes to kids that want to go win and adults that want to go try to chase more championships. And obviously it works with signing a dude like Eli. I mean, a multi-time winner, dude's won everything, goes to win. So, yeah, it's just, it's crazy. It'll take a while to get used to seeing him on a Yamaha, but I'm excited, man. I think that'll be cool and a big moment for the team.
Yeah, and so everything you just said, 100% correct. Also, let's add this kind of little piece to it is the fact that Star Racing Yamaha and HRC are probably the only two teams that you can go to as a lights guy and then go into the 450 class and like win on the same team, same program, same structure. Like Rockstar Husky, like, yeah, they haven't really this year. But yeah, it's just like HRC, Star Yamaha. They're the two teams where you can sign as a lights rider and then go and win on a 450. Yeah,
I mean, obviously you see that with it now. I mean, AP's a champion, Ferranda's a champion. Both done really well. I mean, Malcolm did awesome this year. Like, dude, the 450 program literally got transformed when we got the keys to it and took off, or when they got the keys to it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that makes you look at the team and you're just like, holy shit. And, you know, I think that was a lot of attraction to a team like Rockstar when Bobby Hewitt owned it was, dude, you could possibly ride for this team and win a lights title and then go straight into a 450 thing. Like, that's a huge attraction for kids, you know, that are trying to make their decisions and do all their stuff. So, the fact that that's us in this position, like, I hope I can do that, you know, go straight into a 450 thing and try to do my thing. But obviously that's still a little ways off, but that's definitely the goal, and pretty cool to see that can be an easy transition, you know, if that becomes an option, definitely.
Yeah, and it's like the sport went away from that for like a little period of time. Like HRC had, you know, you had Geico, but it's like that's a different building, it's a different team, it's a different culture. Everything's different about it. You're signing a new deal. It's like, you know, that kind of left the sport for a little bit. And I mean, HRC's brought it back by signing the Lawrence boys. And then obviously both of them won this season, and then they won 450 races. But yeah, it's like, dude, Star kind of brought that shit back. Same with Honda this year. That went away from the sport.
Yeah, I mean, even a dude like Coop, you know, when he first signed from Star to Factory Yamaha, I think it was a little bit of like, it had to have been a little bit of a culture shock for him. You know, I can't speak for him, but I mean, he goes Yamaha corporate, you know, and it's corporate, you know, it's suit and tie for a lot of shit. There's a lot of people there. I mean, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, you know, trying to do stuff. And sometimes it's overlooked, like there's too much bullshit, you know, like you have to be focused on the one thing, which is winning. You know, like at the end of the day, no one wants you to do anything unless you're winning. Like no one gives a shit. So for Coop, I think that had to have been maybe a little bit of the situation that was going on. And then you look at somebody like, you know, even like an AP2, like it's just maybe not what you think it is. And then you come back to a team where the sole focus is winning. They don't give a shit about anything else. Like they're not corporate. Like Bobby's not, you know, he's not Factory Yamaha. So it's just a different way to look at things. And, you know, for him, I think that's what obviously makes it successful for him. But yeah, it's a different thing, man, whenever you have people like that in your corner. And especially it's like that with Star, big time.
Yeah, man, it's super cool. And like you watch like Drive to Survive and you see Lawrence Stroll and the way that he's, have you seen that series?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, like you see Lawrence Stroll, you know, and like the way that he's kind of walking around and the moves that he's making. Like I picture Bobby Reagan to be kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, like he'll do whatever. Yeah, I mean, he's to a point where he's like, yeah, I mean, I don't give a shit. You know, like whatever it is that we got to do. And he built that relationship with Yamaha years ago. I mean, dude, they've been Yamaha forever. And they finally, I felt like, got a bike where it was capable of winning. And then that's all they've done since is win. So I mean, yeah, he will do whatever. And if he's got to drop a little bit of money here or there to do shit, then he will. And obviously, it's worked. You know, you can't knock it. Whatever means you got to do to go win, you got to do it. And for him, it seems to be obviously working really well. I mean, you got the right dudes and right people in the right spots, and I think that's a big thing too. having people that think the same way and that also have that drive, you know, to do it too. And I mean, like our crew chief, I guess you could call him, Brad Hoffman, dude, he's been with Bobby since day one. I mean, literally since day one. He was back when they were absolutely nothing. So same thing. He's kind of been through it. He's seen it all. You know, the team was shit at one point and struggling to do this and that, had no money. And that dude just has so much experience and will to win too that, I mean, that makes a huge role too. So, big combination of not being afraid like Bobby. He don't give a shit and he's not afraid of anything. And then putting the right people in the right spot and being able to go get the riders and, just put it all together and get a dynasty like Star has, really.
Yeah, no, it is a dynasty at this point. What, if we shift gears to like Colt Nichols, the Supercross fan, talk about the 2021 450 season for you. Like, what was it like to watch that shit go down? Because, man, that was a crazy season, dude.
It was, dude. That was honestly, it was fun as hell to watch. Like, obviously, I had my own thing going on for sure, but especially when the break happened, like, I was so amped up to watch Supercross just because, I mean, I'm a fan regardless, you know, whether I raced or not. So to be there on the couch and I'm watching it all play out, and like this year especially because it came down to two guys, and I obviously know Coop so well that it had, you know, I almost felt like I had more insight than the average fan, but it was just so cool to see because Roxon gets on a run and you're like, damn, maybe he's just different this year. Like, the dude's crushing it, like wins all 3 indies. The dude looks like he's untouchable. Tomac's kind of starting to get it together a little bit and you're like, okay, maybe he's going to go on another run like he always does. And then Coop is just being Coop, doing Coop shit, you know, just like as soon as you count him out, he just shocks the world and goes out and kicks ass, you know? So it was such a cool, interesting dynamic. And then you had dudes like, you know, even AP was making his resurgence and Ferrandis was doing good and got on the podium at the second race, and Chase Sexton was ripping all year, you know, when he was there. And it was fun, dude. That 450 class is another animal. You know, like when I look at it, I'm just like, man, I love to race a 450 or to ride a 450. I've never raced one like that. And I'm like, man, I can't wait. But then I'm also just like, holy fuck, this class is gnarly, dude. There is some crazy talented dudes that are just unreal. I mean, every one of them. You look down the line, you're just like, holy shit, the talent that's here is stupid. And, you know, even obviously good friends with Bogle, and he's like, yeah, dude, this class is fucked. Like, it's insane. Like, you're off a second in practice and you're in 16th. You know what I mean? Like, that is incredible to me. Like, it's crazy the way that class works. But no, as a fan, it was damn fun to watch, and it was honestly pretty cool to see how it all played out and how the mind games were played and just the shit that went down. It was honestly a pretty fun season, one of the best ones I think I've seen for sure.
Dude, even throw Barsh's name in there. Like, the guy just comes out and wins the opener again. You know, like the
like 9th year in a row. You're just like, of course.
But like, man, you got like that dude in there, and it's like you go to any track anywhere in the world, and let's say it's like you and Barsha that go there. It's like you're gonna be freaked out at some point by something that dude does. You go to the track with Dean Wilson, you're gonna be freaked out by like some shit that he does. Ken Roxon's gonna keep his feet on through like some gnarly, you know, these guys just have every single one of those guys that is in that class to. Dude, it feels like 16th, 17th is just like a straight up savage, dude. And it's just, you watch those things come together. Like, I mean, Barsha and Eli have got like their own little rivalry within the grand scheme of the championship. And, you know, Barsha's reeling off race wins and he's on this new gas and like he's bringing that to the sport. And then you've got, you know, like Marvin taking off his neck brace with 3 rounds to go and like it's wins, right? You're just like, what is going on right now, dude?
I know the race within the race was always fun to me. You know, like the little rivalries they had and like, you know, different people coming together. And then like you get Barsha around Tomac and you're just like, what's going to happen now? You know, like somehow Barsha and Tomac getting together is always interesting. You know, it's like, can he get around him this time or whatever? But dude, it was so cool. And so many different races had so many different, you know, people towards the front. And the class is just, I think it's just, I mean, everyone's going so fast that, dude, you can't predict anything. I mean, dude, through the first 5 races, I was just like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like, Dylan came in with an injury, and so you had no idea how he was going to do Ferrandis. And dude gets second at I think the second round and was ripping. I was like, dude could have won. Like, dude was going unreal. And every weekend it just seemed like it was something new. So that made it interesting. And dude, if you weren't a fan after this year watching it, like, I don't know what would make you a fan, because it was incredible to watch. Honestly, each weekend it was something new, and it was sick. I loved it.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like, you probably couldn't say it better than that. Like, if you watch this season and you ain't a fan, like, just watch something else, bro. Because, like, we can't do anything more for you.
No, honestly, at that point, just like, okay, maybe you're just never going to be a fan then, because this was unreal. Like, as a fan, yeah, it was about as good as you could want. Honestly, it was incredible.
So what inside info did you have on the Coop program? Like, was there shit where we were all going like, oh, Roxon, you know, but like you had some inside shit where you're like, nah, bro, Coop's got this all day?
I mean, just in a sense of just, I know how he works, man. I've been around him for so long that you just can't count him out, you know, like you really just can't. I mean, even that night where, you know, they were making such a big deal about, I think it was one of the Arlington rounds where he was shit in the heat race. Like, dude, Kenny yarded him. Chase came in there and like
and
actually
Chase,
tapped him, put him on the ground. Yeah. And Coop was just off all day. Like, in practice, he struggled a little bit. Like, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm telling you, the dude's going to go out and probably win tonight. I just know how he works. Like, the dude's just sick in the head. He's going to go out and get a good start. He's going to dig like he always does, and he's going to win this fucking race. And sure enough, like I don't know if that crash just woke him up or what it was, but the dude just went out there and just does what he does. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than the fact that you just can never count the dude out. He rides with such a chip on his shoulder that he just does some amazing shit. Like, just when you think that, you know, there's no way he can do it, then all of a sudden he does it and proves us wrong again. And I just think that's incredible, man. So I think just more or less just being around him for years, like, I just know how the dude operates, and he's just a sicko. That's just the only way there is to describe it. Is just, he's sick, man. He really is.
There's a crazy thing with Coop too, where he just will never blame the bike. He's just one of the rare guys that will ride around a bad motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, I mean, obviously, yeah, you do your little tweaks and you do shit like that for sure, but if he has a bad night, he looks at himself. First and foremost, I mean, he looks at himself and he was like, dude, I got to get my shit together. Like, I don't know what happened, you know? And I think it was one of the races where he did have, you know, a little bit of a lackluster performance, maybe the first Atlanta or whatever it was, you know, something that wasn't conventional Coop. And I just knew that the next one would be different, and he would figure it out by the time they left there. And that's just the way he is, man. I don't care what he has to do, how he has to get himself in that mindset to do what he does. And, you know, I think they did work on the bike a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, you'll never hear him be like, yeah, dude, bike shit, that's why I lost. Or, I mean, anything. It's always on him. And he's rarely in a spot where he can look at it and be like, yeah, I lost because of this. Like, he just doesn't lose. You know, if he's in a position to be close to a win, he wins. I mean, damn near every time. Like, anytime there's 2 laps to go and anybody's ahead of him and he's like a second or two within him, I'm like, oh, Coop's got this all day. Like, he's going to win. And he does every time. Like, it's honestly incredible to watch. And it makes it interesting from a fan's perspective, because you're just like, can he do it again? You know, can he do it again? And he just seems like he does it every time somehow. Pulls it out of his ass. I don't know how he does it.
He's got the shit talking pretty on point as well, because like, I mean, it's like, all right, it's, you got to preface like the history that Ken and Coop have, but like, obviously I don't really care to go into it, but it's like there is history there between those guys. It is personal, and it would be weird every fucking weekend, like, regardless of you know what I mean? Like, even if they're not getting into it on the track, like, it's still a fucking weird thing to deal with. But like, he talks shit well too, like real fucking well. And there's like, he's on like a black belt level of head fucking. And I mean, I've seen a bunch of guys that think they're killing it. And, you know, and I mean, I've heard Kenny be like, I'm in his head. Like, you know, personally, I've heard him be like, oh, I'm in that guy's head. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, but with Coop, it's like, like Coop, it's like, you're in everybody's head. And there's just like, the way that he does it, it's just fucking chef's kiss on all of the shit talk. Like, he is a master at it. It's like, says so much with so little.
Yeah, I mean, even that, the funniest one, because he told me about it afterwards. Like, he's telling me, it was like, dude, you will not believe, or he didn't say you will not believe, but he was like, yeah, dude, I told him what was up on the gate. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, you're full of shit, whatever. And then, dude, later, Supercross Live posted a video. I guess someone was mic'd up around him. He just looks at Eli, looks at King. He's like, hope you boys are ready for a fucking battle. And, dude, like, you're about to take off and race these guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have got to be radiating confidence. Like, I better go get shit handled now. And the dude went out and won the race. Like, and fucking crushed it. Like, if that doesn't break your spirit, lining up next to the dude, like, I don't know what will. And he knows how to turn that shit on when he needs to. And that just comes from that chip on his shoulder he's always had. I mean, all the way through our amateurs, like getting his ass kicked by Adam, and that kind of made that chip, I think. And man, yeah, that was just, it doesn't really get much better than that. Like, that's incredible to me. Absolutely incredible.
And yeah, what are you supposed to do as the dude that gets second to that guy? Like, you got a week. Sometimes you got 2 days to figure out how to beat that dude. Yeah.
I mean, you literally just, you don't know how to do it. Obviously, no one's really figured it out yet. And I think Coop's only getting better. So, yeah, I mean, the dude he knows how to win. I mean, he knows how to get himself right. And yeah, I think, you heard people saying all year, like, man, Kenny just needs to knock him down one time, like try to get in his head a little bit or something. And, it's just, yeah, I don't know if you can do that with Coop. Like, I don't know if you can really get in the dude's head. Like, he's just built different, I think. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny to see the different tactics, but Coop is just a master at what he does, man. He's good at it. He radiates confidence. He gets it done when he needs to. And, yeah, you can never really doubt the guy. That's for sure.
What do you think, like, if you had this, there's like the one chink in his armor in terms of riding is whoop speed. What do you think that he's got to do? Like, you're a guy that is good in the whoops, but, you get on a 450 and there's a bunch of shit that goes, can change there. But, like, that seems to be the only thing where if he was killing the whoops at every single time and he could adapt and have that whoop speed, like, fuck, it'd be pretty much good night, nurse.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be, it'd be definitely over before it started, I think. But at the same time, like, you look at it, when the dude has to figure it out, he somehow does. Like, if he sucks in the whoops all day and he can't skim them and he's jumping or doing, but he figures it out and he just wins the race. I mean, it just never, I don't really think that you can even say that's a chink, because when he has to, he figures it out. Like, there's just no questions. He just somehow does it, like, I don't know how he does it. Like, he struggles there all day and you can visibly see it sometimes. And then when it comes down to it, he just somehow figures it out. And you're just like, Jesus, dude. Like, I don't know how the dude does it. But yeah, I don't know. I've heard, I even heard Reed, I think, talking about it before and talking about 4 strokes and how they're so much different. And that dude obviously has experience like nobody else. And he's just like, yeah, man, sometimes it's just hard to get these bikes to go through the whoops. And, he rode a KTM Husqvarna, like all this stuff. And, some bikes are just better in the whoops than others, and just the way the chassis set up and how it flexes and everything. And I'm not saying theirs isn't, but I have no idea. I've obviously never rode any of that stuff, so yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know, but the dude just figures it out when he needs to. So yeah, I don't really think that he's even really that concerned about it, because when it comes time to like really do it, he does it. So I mean, I don't even think he's worried.
That's such a good point. So you got next year, obviously, you'll run the 1E and try and defend that title, and then that'd have to be your last year in the lights class, right? Yeah, that'll be last year. You get 4 I think total years of pointing out, and this year I burnt my 3rd year, but obviously winning, you only have 1 year to defend. So we'll do lights next year, defend, and then off to the big boy class. So what's your like deal status with Star? Like, do you have next year on your contract already locked and loaded, or like where you at contract wise? Yeah, so I have 1 more year with Star. Originally signed in so in 20, it had to have been 2020. In 2020 when I got hurt, I did my shoulder right when we were starting to get into Supercross riding. I did my shoulder back late in October, I think, and in October, I signed a 2-year extension with Star, as I was hurt, sitting on the couch, couldn't do anything. So that's what I mean, like, about Bobby Reagan. Like, the dude always had faith in me, and he always knew I was going to do it. I just had to come through somehow, and the dude just kept re-signing me. Like, dude, I got hurt in 17, and I had a 2-year deal. He added another year to it and was like, we want you to feel comfortable. Like, we know you can do it. And the dude just kept signing me. And then I got hurt again in 19, and dude signed me for another 2 years.
at first he came at me with a 1 year, and, I told him, I was like, hey, no matter what happens, I have 2 more years, because I didn't burn a year eligibility in 2020. I only raced a handful of races at Salt Lake, and he was like, okay, no questions asked. Like, so he just bumped it to 2 years and was like, okay, here you go. Like, dude, did never even ask questions about it. I just asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, for sure. And that was incredible to me. So, we're locked in for next year, and then after that, we'll kind of see what happens, and then, try to get something together for the 450 class after that.
How do you feel your time? Like, you've obviously at this point you're probably good at being injured, just because you've fucking been injured a lot. Like, what are you filling your time with to make that process like not only bearable but I guess productive to the big picture?
Yeah, I think it depends on the injury really, but in 19 I did the shoulder, and I actually broke my foot too. So at the time when I did that, my foot took about 8 or 9 weeks to heal, and my shoulder, obviously I had reconstructive surgery on that, and that took forever, and I couldn't do anything really. I was in a sling, and then I had one of those little scooter things with my foot up, and I'm just trying to wheel around the house and not run into shit pretty much. So I couldn't do anything with that one. But the one that was, I would say, honestly, the biggest blessing in disguise was Salt Lake 2020 when I went there. I was underprepared to go race at Salt Lake, but I would just had about 3 weeks on the bike before we went, and I was like, okay, I feel decent enough. Like, let's go race and just see where we're at and get some gate drops at least before outdoors, and hopefully I can maybe help Shane in the title hunt too or whatever. So we went there and raced, and I ended up, that's whenever Sexton landed on my hand and I broke my hand. And that was the first injury I had had in a really long time where I was hurt, but yet I could still use my legs. I could cycle. I could run. I could do all this shit. So in 2020 when I got hurt, during that, I came back home and I'm like, Swanee, listen, like, I don't know how many more times I can do this. I'm over getting hurt. I'm so annoyed. I'd only raced 4 races and I was hurt again.
That one with Sexton
just like,
was weird too.
Yeah, it was a really weird deal, but it looking back on it now, I'm like, wow, that was probably the biggest catalyst for how I'm in the position I'm in now. Because, dude, after I got back from Salt Lake, the day I got back, I went on a run that day, and my hand's all fucked up, my bones are all mashing together in my hand, and I'm just like, dude, I will do anything to not be in this spot again. I'm gonna work my ass off. So after that, I had surgery the next day. Come back, I'm in a cast and doing all this stuff, and we started that next day. Like, I had surgery on, I think, like a Wednesday. We started training on Thursday, and dude, we took off. Like, I did everything I could possibly do. Like, I was doing 3-4 day training sessions. We would cycle, we would run, we would hit the gym. I'm doing yoga. Like, I'm doing everything I could possibly do. I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna turn into a beast. And I just did everything, dude. I was 10-12 mile runs. We're doing 3-4 hour cycles, like these crazy intervals where I was pushing myself harder than I've ever pushed myself off the bike, to get to a point where I was like, I never want to look at it and be like, maybe I crashed because I wasn't strong enough or anything. I was just like, fuck it, we're gonna swing for the fences and see what happens. And this year I was able to pass a lot of guys at the end of the races, and I had my fitness there. I hit the ground hard a lot of times. I was able to bounce right back up, I think, because I was a little stronger and a little more bulkier this season than I ever was before. So we went to work. That was, I think, a little bit of a blessing in disguise, that crash I had there.
Dude, that's so sick, man. Like, I fucking love that mentality of just like turning into a beast. Because like I raced, I wasn't good when I raced, but I didn't understand hard work, and I didn't understand how hard work paid off. And it wasn't until I started doing jiu-jitsu, and then I was like, I want to compete, and you're at like the bottom of the heap, and then you're just getting fucked up by literally everybody in the gym. When you first go in there, they can just fuck you up like crazy. Yeah. And there was just like a bit of a switch that happened mentally when I was just like, okay, well, I just have to like train hard, I have to study hard, I have to like, there's all this extra shit, and it was purely out of like, I just need to not get fucked up so bad when I go to this gym. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the goal, it was such like a weird goal to have, but it pushed me to like really work hard and really train. And dude, I just like, kind of what you said, like you just go like to a fucking beast. Like, I just tried to do that, and it was in a real weird way, like, just a local jiu-jitsu gym. It's like a weird environment to do it. But dude, the first I reckon like the first 9 months of doing jiu-jitsu literally changed my life in terms of the way that I looked at hard work and the results that I saw in like a really short period of time. And I was just like, dude, if I apply this to everything in my life, I could probably get the same results. And I mean, I just started doing it with the podcast. I started doing it with reading. I started doing it with stretching. I started doing it with meditation. It was just like everything in my life. I was like, dude, if I work this hard at it, I could literally change my life in the space of 9 months, you know?
Yeah, I mean, literally exactly the way I looked at it. Like, I got hurt, and I'm not saying I got hurt because I was out of shape. Like, I thought I was in really good shape. Like, I'd been training with Swanee for years, and we do everything really, really well. But, dude, when we got back, I was like, dude, I want to go to another level. I was like, let's ramp up everything. Like, let's do everything more. Like, I want to do more. I want to do an hour longer on the cycle. Let's do a longer run. Let's be in the gym for an hour longer. Like, let's do whatever we can. Like, we have time right now. And it was tough for him because it's always stuff that he's probably wanted to do, but we really couldn't, you know, like I was coming off an injury every time to do something, you know, like I broke my femur in 17 and we're just busting our balls to try to get back and make the first race. You know, we make the first race. I raced 4 races, hurt my knee, you know, so that now we're out, and then we're struggling to come back to outdoors. So it was always like, felt like it was always something. And this was that time period where normally this would have been my break. You know, like you're done with the season, you have a little bit of a break, go home, do whatever, hang out with your family. I didn't do any of that. I stayed at my house in California. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, we're going to be here. Let's put in as much time as we can possibly do. Like, anything you want me to do, I'll do it. I don't care what it is, you know? And it was just that mentality where I was just like, it kind of brought me back to like the 2014, 15 kind of days where I was just like, dude, whatever we got to do. Like, I'm sick of being hurt. I'm sick of being this guy that everyone thinks can't make a championship because he's hurt. And I'm not saying I was getting hurt because I was weak or anything like that, but I just wanted to leave no stone unturned. I was like, let's do whatever we can. Like, and if it works, like, I'm going to be a beast. Like, I'll fuck everyone up then. You know, like, I feel like I'll do whatever I got to do. So that was the mentality, and that was really what made this year what it is. And transitioning into outdoors, I'm hoping that's going to carry over and do the exact same thing, because I feel like I'm on another level fitness-wise than I've ever been ever. So I think that'll really play out during the summer months for sure.
Yeah, I'm fucking excited for that now, like hearing that, you know. So it's one thing though, right, to sit here and say it. Like, it's fucking so easy to say, like, I'm going to work so hard, I'm going to be a beast, I'm going to do, but like, you know, so my equivalent of that is like open mat. You've got an hour and a half of just straight rolls with fucking killers, and it's hot. You're in a gi, like they're fucking you up, and it's like you've got to, like, at least for me, I've just tried to figure out a way to just go dark. Like, I'm not even me anymore. For like that hour and a half that I'm there, I just like give myself, it's like a sacrifice. I'm literally sacrificing that hour and a half of my life to just go fucking dark. Just be void and just go literally as hard as I can. I'm a piece of shit to everybody that I roll with. Like, I literally will just do everything for that hour and a half to just be a fucking savage. And you've almost got to like, there's a weird process that you have to go through. You have to like strip out who you are, what you've got, what your plans are after, like if you got a chick and fuck, you know, all the bullshit. So like, do you have that headspace where when you go to train and you're on a 3-hour cycle where you've just got to fucking go into the dark and just come out of it whenever it's done and be like coal again after, you know?
Oh, 100%. Because before, like, we would do stuff, but rarely was it like, I want you to go as hard as you can go. You know, like, go until you feel like you're going to die. You know, like, just do whatever you can do, because you're constant. When you're riding, you can't really do that. Like, you save that for on the track, you know, to where you're like, I'll go as hard as I can go. Like, I'm pushing to the limit. But whenever we train, especially during the week, you don't have that as much. You know, like, you're just more focused on recovery, you know, and then maintaining the fitness you have. Yeah. And at that point, like when I was in that era of, you know, after 2020 when I got hurt, I was like, okay, let's go to the pain cave, and I just want to stay there. I mean, fuck it. Like, let's just see, you know, what I'm built like. Let's see what happens. Yeah, like, why not, you know? So we would do these cycles where, I mean, you are literally as hard as you can go. The heart rate's 190, like, you're through the roof, and it's literally just like, how bad do you want it? You know, like, how much can you dig to get what you want? And dude, once I started doing that, I felt like I just opened up Pandora's box. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I have such a big engine, and I can do way more than I thought I could. simply because I want it. Like, I wanted it more than anything. And before, I don't think I had that, you know, as much, to where I didn't really understand how big of a mental breakthrough that was to do that day in and day out. You know, like before I'm thinking, all right, well, let's save it for the race and, you know, like whatever. But now I'm like, dude, if I have an opportunity where someone's like, or, you know, Swanee is like, let's go out and as hard as you can fucking go. Like, to me, that's the most important thing I can do. Like, that's testing myself more than anything. You know, like, how bad do you want to do it? Like, what are you willing to do to go do it? And once I started to realize that, it literally just, everything took off. And that's why this year I think it's been as successful as it was. It was that big mental breakthrough I felt like I had in those times where I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. And then to be able to put that to use, like during the races, was huge. Like, I know they're only 15 minutes, but I mean, of course you get gassed and everything. And I made a lot of passes at the end of races. Like, I passed Christian with 3 laps to go, I think, at Houston 3 to win my first race. I passed him again at Houston, or right before that at Houston 2 with, I want to say, you know, 3 or 4 minutes left to go in that race. So it was like toward the end of the races where I was getting stronger and I was doing all this shit and I was passing dudes. And like, to me, I was just like, wow, that was because of all this stuff. Like, mentally, I knew I could push myself to a place I'd never been before. And I was able to apply that on the weekends. And that was huge, man. I saw that and I was like, wow, that was literally just because of that. I mean, it was strictly because of those bike rides, those runs, all that shit I didn't want to do. And I pushed myself to a new level that I've never pushed myself to before. And yeah, to have it come through the way it did and be this guy that was kind of wearing people down at the end of the race and stuff like that, I was like, that's it right there. You know, that's what we were missing a little bit before. And now I got that, you know, I needed that big time.
And do you think that that's something that you can look at in like other areas of your life away from racing now?
No, 100%. Just because I knew how much effort I was putting into something. So whenever I look at it at a life perspective, I'm just like, dude, like, if you wanted that bad enough and you're willing to put your life on the line to do it and literally go till you feel like you're going to die, then you can get a lot of shit done. You know, like, you can do really whatever you want. I mean, like, the sky's the limit, you know? So for me, that kind of mental breakthrough was like, Jesus, you know, like, this ability to test yourself day in and day out and push. And like, cause I've always been able to like push. I feel like I always had this ability to dig, you know, no matter what, but to do it every time, you know, and just be like, I'm never going to waver, you know, like, I'm never going to just save it for the next time. I'm going to go until I can't go anymore. And I'll be damned if someone's going to beat me. You know, it was just the attitude I had about everything. And this whole preseason was just different, man. Like, I just did everything wide open, as good as I could do it, as hard as I could go. And that was the life lesson, pretty much. You know, it was just like, damn, I can take this anywhere. You know, as long as I do that and have that kind of attitude, then sky's the limit. Like, we can do whatever the hell we want.
Dude, and man, like, you sit here as like, I'm listening to you talk and I'm going, fuck, like, how do you beat that dude? And it's like, that's what happened, you know what I mean? Like, people couldn't beat you. Like, people could beat you in a race and people could, you know, beat you on the night, but it's like, people didn't beat you. Like, it's so hard to beat that dude. And man, like, I'm saying how hard I train, blah, blah, blah. There's guys in my gym that make me look like a bitch. And you know what I mean? Like, there's levels to it. And the guys that work the hardest consistently, and it's not like, I think the other thing too is that when you do just something for its own sake, like, you've got this cycle, right? This 3-hour cycle where you're like, I'm going to fucking die on this cycle. That cycle doesn't become about a race. It doesn't become about any external thing. When you do it just to go and just like, all right, this is literally all that matters right now. I think when you get into that mindset, and it's like, you're treating everything like every role that you do in the gym or every moto or every, when you're just treating it as like, okay, this is the only thing that exists now. Like, I'm not saving it for tomorrow. I'm not worried that I've got to go to the movies later or dinner later, or like, I'm not worried about this interview I got to give. It's like, this is it. I'm going to fuck myself up right now. And then when you just show up daily and you're just like, it's a weird lifestyle, dude. Like, the Brazilians in jiu-jitsu, they call it porrada and they call it everyday war. And it's like, like just a mindset that these fucking dudes have. And in jiu-jitsu culture, it literally is like every single day. Like, the best dude in the world, Gordon Ryan, he literally trains 7 days a week, never takes a day off. And it's been like years, literally like 7-8 years of not taking a day off. And it's like that mindset, dude, of just like being a fucking killer 24/7, everything you do. Like, and it's not dictated on like, oh, this is the program and I got this race. It's like when you become like that savage dude that can show up, or like that version of you can show up for everything, then you're a real hard dude to beat.
Yeah, and that was a realization this year. Was I don't know. I just had this like idea of myself, and I knew what I'd done in the preseason and how hard I'd worked. And once I got to that point, to an actual race where it mattered, I was like, man, like this is why I did all that. Let's go lay it on the line and see what happens. You know, like at least I can do is give it my best effort. And you know, I kind of learned what the best effort was this off season, and how hard I could actually push myself and how much I could get out of myself was a big thing too. And yeah, man, once I realized that breakthrough was huge. And then I was just like, everything I do is for the moment. I mean, every single thing I did, like at the practice track, I would always look at it and be like, yeah, we're saving ourselves for the weekend, or, you know, we're doing whatever, in which that was always the goal. You always have to have that in the back of your mind. Like, yeah, this is all for Saturday. But at the moment, it was just like, dude, I'll go kill myself to win. Like, we'll do whatever. You know, like I will kill myself on the cycle, in the gym. Like I'm going to turn into a beast, and I'm going to do everything as hard as I can do it. And, man, that's really, really what I did. I mean, I laid it all out there every weekend. I mean, even that crash I had at Indy 3, and, you know, I left it all out there. I did everything I felt like I could do, you know, and I came back and got third that night. And to me, that was one of the biggest races for me, like just a breakthrough to just be like, man, dude, like, I gave everything to the last lap, you know, like to the last absolute lap. And, you know, having that battle with Jet was even more reassurance, because it would have been very easy to just be like, all right, fuck, he's got me. You know, like I can't get him. I tried for 8 minutes to pass this kid, and I could not pass him. As soon as I passed him, he'd get me back. And I just kept going. I was like, dude, I will not quit. Like I have been down in the dumps so many times. I've had so many cycles where I was like, I feel like I'm going to die, and I somehow pull through it every time. So I was like, let's just keep going, you know, keep going. And, you know, we got all the way back up to third, and it was one of the biggest like moments of my career to just be like, damn, like you did that, you know, like that was just because you never quit. You didn't give up, and got you to a spot where that was like that championship salvage kind of ride, you know, that's the one that I needed. So, yeah, that's a huge part of our game. Definitely.
Well, man, we pretty much just done 3 hours. I'm stoked, man. I'm really stoked that I mean, I've been talking to Parko about getting you on here for a while now, and I'm stoked that we didn't do it earlier. To be honest, man, like I feel like you can talk in a completely different way when you're a champ, because all the shit that you're saying is now backed up. It's concrete. It's in the record books. You're a fucking champ forever. And it really validates a lot of the, you know, the stuff that you are saying, and to hear the appreciation that you've got for the people that helped you along the way, and to hear about, you know, the fact that this championship was just built out of fucking hard work. I mean, it's awesome, man. It's a great message. I've taken a lot of inspiration from, you know, just from talking to you for these few hours. So I really appreciate your time, dude. And yeah, what a fucking season.
Yeah, hell yeah, boys. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to do it. Big fan of the show. So, yeah, it was a pleasure, most definitely.
And, yeah, let's go for this walkout fit deal. I'm about it. I feel like we need to make it. We need to make it happen. Dude, Jet and Hunter would be in on it. You got Bogle. Who else dresses good? Who else could we get in that mix?
I mean, actually, even Christian this year was stepping his game up. He was bringing some heat at a few races. I think I was throwing some influence in there. So, yeah, I mean, we could get a whole squad if we wanted to, for sure. We got to do the OGs at least, me and Bogle, and then whoever wants to tag along, bring it in, man. We'll do everybody. I don't give a damn. Let's do it.
What day would be what's like the best day to do it? Should we do it like Saturday morning? And because what I'm thinking, right? This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we got like a little, like maybe the tunnel, and it's like a time we walk in, and it's like we got some cameras there. We announce this shit, and then it's like you know, we make this like a legit thing. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I mean that's what we did in 19. It was Saturday morning, so I left the hotel in my full get up. That was not like just pit shirt and hat shit, you know. We kind of wore whatever, and then once we got to the race, we walked in you know, wherever in was. It was different every single time, obviously. And we just kind of, like, Brad snapped a few photos. We went to our haulers. We changed into our track walk shit, and then we went to it. So, yeah, we did it Saturday morning, so that could work. That's it.
I'm down. We need to make it happen. I'll do whatever I got to do. I'm feeling that. We'll run a little highlight clip on YouTube every week.
Yeah. I'm into that, man. Let's do it. We need to bring it back, most definitely. I'm down.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, yeah, good luck for outdoors too, man. I'm excited now. Like, the whole that gear that you found, man, like, that's really going to come into play in the summer. And yeah, outdoors is going to be fucking wild this year. So I'm excited to see that version of Colt on the line.
Let's go, man. Yeah, I'm excited, man. It'll be a fun year. Ready to get things going, chase another title, and see what we can do. I mean, a lot of good dudes, but yeah, we'll see what we can do. I'm ready for it. But yeah, once again, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. This was cool.
Nah, man, I appreciate you, dude. Thanks so much.
Yep, of course. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.